What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3SP Chapter 51 The hunting operation has begun, exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Reclama in a blink of an eye, 3 days passed. On this day, Maoyong Academy, which had been quiet for several months, became hot again because of the annual field training. Almost all the freshmen participated, and the ostentation of this operation is quite spectacular. Ling Yun came to the entrance of the college early in the morning and gathered with the students of the special training class. Compared with the usual deserted scene, today it has become extraordinarily lively. This time field training. A total of 500 freshmen took part in the action. In terms of personnel scale, it is unprecedented, so the number of mentors accompanying it has also increased a lot compared to previous years. Little ghosts, are you ready? The time is almost up. Standing in front of the team, Hiyori looked up at Lai Yong. We will follow the other teams and rush to Baidomen together, and then we will go to the 80th block of West Rukongai together. Understood. The students nodded. A group of people left the academy in a mighty way. It took a few days and a long journey along the way. The field training team has finally arrived at the destination, Block 80, West Rukongai. This place is far more dilapidated than expected. Ling Yun stood among the crowd, looking at the surrounding scenes. As far as the eye can see, it is a barren land, where you can't see any streets, not even a complete building, let alone the most common green vegetation. The biting cold wind hit in gusts, blowing up a thick layer of dust that had accumulated on the ground. In addition to the harsh environment, there is also a large amount of waste, and there is no water source at all, and the most basic conditions for survival are completely lost. Strictly speaking, this place can't be called a block at all, perhaps it is more appropriate to describe it as a ruin. Surprised, Hiyori's voice sounded from behind. She folded her hands together, with a playful expression, and swaggered to Ling Yun's side. Ms. Hiyori. Ling Yun greeted him politely. Only by experiencing it personally will you realize that there is such a desolate place in the Soul Society. Ling Yun expressed his heartfelt emotion. It wasn't until this moment that Ling Yun understood why the academy chose this place. The climate is good, the landform is good, and the resources are good. The extremely harsh environment here is simply the best place for assessment. Ling Yun, you grew up in Shihouin's mansion and lived a pampered life. It's only natural for you to be surprised. Like a close sister, Hiyori continued to enlighten her with words. But there is one thing I must remind you. Hiyori looked to the southeast, where there was almost no end to the wasteland. Following that direction, you can reach the edge of the Soul Society, but it is also the place with the most resentment, and you can often see traces of hollow. I understand, but I would like to ask, is there an end to that area? Ling Yun asked suspiciously. I'm not sure, but strictly speaking, since it's a fringe area, there will always be an end. However, under normal circumstances, very few people would come to Block 80, after all, it has been abandoned for hundreds of years. Hiyori's expression gradually became serious. I will pay attention to safety, thank you for your reminder, Ling Yun smiled. Hey, let me emphasize in advance, I didn't say this to you alone, I hope you don't misunderstand. Before leaving, Hiyori deliberately emphasized it again. I have absolutely no selfishness. It is inevitable that there is a feeling that there is no silver 300 taels here. I understand everything. Mr. Hiyori, I fully understand that you just care about the students. Ling Yun blinked slyly. Who said it? I'm going to inform the other students, let them set up their tents, and sleep peacefully tonight. Hiyori blushed, found an excuse, and left in despair. If other members of the Masquerade Legion were present, they would definitely be dumbfounded by this scene. Oh my god, little sister Hiyori, to be moved again? My youth is over. Afterwards, after the instructors gave their orders, the freshmen of each class set up their camps. Everything is going on in an orderly manner. At noon, after a short rest, everyone was ready to go. Everyone listen up. An old man named Akita, who is a high-ranking senior of the academy and the dean of junior students. As the team leader of this field training, he is responsible for coordinating all the processes, and he is also the person with the greatest voice in the audience. 10 classes, according to the order of numbers, went to different directions, east, west, north, south, to start the formal content of this field training. Director Akita stood on the podium, his expression was as solemn as a rock, and his sonorous voice resounded through the audience. The specific mission requirement is to hunt and kill a certain number of ghosts in a month's time. With the release of the task, the atmosphere of the audience suddenly became hot. I sincerely hope that after 1 month passes, every student will be able to gain something. Enveloping Ryatsu's rich voice, it came to everyone's ears clearly. Akita Director Lang boosted morale, instantly inspire everyone's fighting spirit. Hunting a certain number of shu? Ling Yun muttered to himself in the crowd. This task may seem simple, but it is actually quite difficult. Soul Society, after all, is the territory of Shinigami, although there are traces of ghosts, but the number is very rare. The only acceptable thing is that the training time is longer. 1 month is completely enough to hunt shu. Soon after, each class is assigned, The special training class, as the best class of this year, is of course assigned to the worst area. In the southeast direction, the endless desert is the most resentful place in Block 80, and it is also the place where resentful spirits are most likely to breed. Little devils. In the next month, everyone cheers me up. This time we must overfulfill the task, and we must not lose the face of the special training class. Hiyori was like a stern mentor, and instantly turned on hell mode. What? Do you want to overfulfill the task? Instructor Hiyori, don't you mess with us. The students below were crying and complaining. Although he has outstanding talent, after all, he has a superior living environment and has never experienced a crisis. Strictly speaking, more like flowers in a greenhouse. Now suddenly, let them come to a barren desert and have to fight Shu. Most people can't accept it for a while, of course. It does not include Ling Yun. Compared with other students, he not only intends to stay alone, but even wants to extend the specified time limit of the mission. Because that's all. Only his sealed state can purify more voids, so as to balance the power of multiple attributes. Chapter 52 Menos Grande is really coming, Ling Yun. Please wait a moment. Just as the students started their actions, Hiyori stopped Ling Yun on purpose. Teacher Hiyori, what's the matter? Ling Yun turned around curiously. Will you let me stay alone again, and then talk with you about your ideals in life? What nonsense are you talking about? Hiyori's cheeks flushed, and he suddenly became speechless. Lisa-chan and Bai also did the same thing back then, so I think so. Looking at Hiyori's expression, Ling Yun deliberately used aggressive methods. What? Those two bastards actually sneaked around. After returning to Jingling, I will definitely settle accounts with them. Like dynamite ignited, Hiyori's whole body exploded in an instant. She puffed her cheeks angrily, as if someone had snatched her beloved toy, and she looked very cute when she was angry. Anyone can see it clearly. Hiyori is jealous. Teacher Hiyori, I was just joking. Why are you suddenly angry? Ling Yun teased with a chuckle. Ling Yun. You. Hiyori couldn't even speak clearly. The redness on both sides of the cheeks became more obvious, like two glowing red apples. HMPH, I won't talk to you anymore. Hiyori held back for a long time, and finally forcibly changed the subject. By the way, how is your sealed state? Sealed state? Ling Yun immediately put away his expression. Anything related to Zanpakuto, he will take extra care. It's been a lot of work. It's been a few months since you got the sealed state. How far is it from Zanpakuto's awakening? Hiyori asked with concern. Mr. Hiyori, to tell you the truth, there should only be a suitable opportunity. Ling Yun gave an affirmative answer. Ryotsu possesses 6 different attributes, resulting in his Zanpakuto destined to be extraordinary. However, during the process of injecting Ryotsu, Ling Yun could clearly feel that now is not the perfect time, and it seems that there are more attributes that have not been discovered yet. Light, dark, freeze and more. Only the moment of full awakening of all talents, the awakening of Zanpakuto, is true perfection. So Ling Yun was not in a hurry, but quietly waited until the time came. After all, the attribute affinity, talent, apart from upgrading skills, is only rewarded by random missions. To put it bluntly, everything is just luck. I understand. I hope you don't worry. You must keep calm. The awakening of Zanpakuto does not happen overnight. Hiyori comforted patiently. I'll do what I can. Ling Yun's mentality is very optimistic. Even with the sealed state alone now, he has a powerful slash. 6 different Ryotsu, no joke, soon after. West Rukongai, southeast of Block 80, the endless desert. It's too big here, I can't see the end at all. Including Ling Yun, 50 students from the special training class walked in the desert in groups. Facing the quiet and dim environment around, shrouded in a deadly atmosphere. Except for Ling Yun, the others were trembling and had to be cautious with every step forward. Of course, each of them has a stronger concentration of spiritual power than ordinary people. Therefore, when they all gather together, they form a special aura, which is incompatible with the backlog of resentment here. Time passed by every minute and every second. I don't know how long it took, and everyone came to the middle of the desert, the most barren area of the land. The atmosphere here is so depressing that even breathing becomes a little difficult. Almost Soul Society, one of the most vicious areas. Can't you move on? It seems to be touching the barrier of the Soul Society over there. One of the timid students was obviously crying when he spoke. If he hadn't been accompanied by other people, even if he had given him 100 courage, he wouldn't have dared to come here alone. We can't turn back, keep going, we haven't met Shu yet, another student objected. I agree too, others have expressed their views. Although the atmosphere was not quite right, most people still gritted their teeth and chose to continue exploring in order to complete the task. But, the original student said tremblingly, the atmosphere here is obviously not right. What if the number of ghosts is astonishing, or Menos Grande appears? Menos Grande. That kind of monster only exists in Hueco Mundo, how could it appear here? That's right, you're probably thinking too much. Everyone mocked. Menos Grande, this legendary species, is really out of reach for them. Menos Grande? On the contrary, Ling Yun remained silent. He subconsciously observed the surrounding environment, and felt a premonition of uneasiness in his heart. In his impression, Menos Grande has the ability to tear apart space, and even the lowest Gillian is not something these students can handle. But after thinking about it, Ling Yun didn't take it too seriously. Menos Grande descends. Such unlucky things can't be so coincidental, can they? Let's go. Don't waste too much time, we have to return before dark. Ling Yun quickly put away his thoughts and took the initiative to stand up to maintain order. The originally noisy scene quickly became orderly. The special training class continues to move toward the depths of the desert. But this peaceful atmosphere lasted for a short time before it was broken. Boom! Suddenly there was a deafening bang in front of him. The sound was like a boiling sound wave, quickly spreading across the entire desert, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. Really? I'm just talking casually, won't the light really become a light mouth? Ling Yun looked into the distance, looking in the direction of the source of the sound. At the end of his line of sight, the originally dark sky was torn apart suddenly, and a dark crack in the black cavity suddenly appeared. The black tunnel has appeared. Is there really Menos Grande coming? There was an expression of disbelief on every student's face. Woo! After a howling sound like a ghost, a creepy scene appeared. One after another, shadows covering the sky and the sun suddenly burst out from the crack in the space. Gillian, who was covered with a mask with a long pointed nose, emerged from it continuously, and the number was as high as a dozen. The Menos Grande has truly descended, exclamations sounded one after another. Faced with the strange phenomenon that suddenly appeared in the sky, everyone's scalps were inevitably a little numb. Wrong. Besides Gillian, there is a more powerful aura. Ling Yun stared at the black cavity passage. He could clearly sense the presence of those two powerful auras. Apparently the Menos Grande from Hueco Mundo, Chapter 53, the Skeleton Emperor's subordinate officer. Shit. In addition to the ordinary Gillian, there are other breaths in the black cavity channel. Ling Yun stared at the black cavity passage. A feeling of heart palpitations arises spontaneously. Even at a certain distance, Menos Grande's unique violent aura still brings a disturbing sense of oppression. This is still the prelude to showing up. It can be seen that its strength must be extraordinary. Ling Yun, what should we do now? We have no way out. A desperate voice came from behind Ling Yun. The other students in the special training class trembled with fear after a large group of Gillian appeared. Empty Head is still mild, more serious even on the verge of coma. It is the first time to step out of the gate of the academy, but encountering such a sudden and dangerous situation, almost no one can maintain reason. Don't panic, just keep calm. Ling Yun tried to appease his companion's emotions. 793, but he underestimated the extent of fear. Except for a few, most people fell into despair and even gave up hope of survival. At this time, it is almost impossible to organize a retreat. It's really difficult. It would be great if Hiyori was here. Looking at the scattered crowd, Ling Yun frowned solemnly. He can handle Gillian with ease, but with such a group of soy sauce bottles, Ling Yun can't care about their safety at all. Just in this gap, the breath in the black cavity channel became more and more obvious. As predicted, the moment the dangerous aura reached ultimate, two figures with obvious differences in body size walked out of the dark tunnel side by side. The figure on the left. Its appearance resembles a humanoid griffin, its whole body is covered with red feathers, there is an obvious empty hole in its abdomen, and there is a coxcomb-shaped helmet on its head. One of the most eye-catching is its post-capital location. The pair of wings that cover the sky and the sun are like a burning flame under the dim sunlight. A ferocious aura, vividly displayed, and the figure on the right. It is a saber-toothed tiger with ferocious fangs, larger than the average Shinigami, and black lines on the surface. There is also an obvious empty hole in the abdomen. Although not as huge as the griffin, the aura exuded by the saber-toothed tiger is even less fierce than the former. One is powerful and the other is as fast as the wind. As soon as the two figures walked out of the dark tunnel, there were bursts of wailing in the air, and the atmosphere that shrouded the desert became even more suffocating. It turned out to be them. Ling Yun recognized the other party with just one glance. That's right. Whether it is a saber-toothed tiger or a human-shaped griffin, they all have a feeling of déjà vu. That is because they are subordinate officers of the Skeleton Emperor. Joe Weed, Aburama Lida. Ling Yun read out the two names with a solemn expression. In his impression, in the plot of the original novel, these two had impressive performances in the Karakura town battle. Although they were killed tragically in the end, their opponents were, after all, the Shinigami captains. And now, in order to cover the retreat of his companions, Ling Yun knew very well in his heart that he had to use one or two enemies. Geo, it seems that our luck is not bad. The souls of these people look delicious. The humanoid griffin flapped its wings and looked down condescendingly. His blood pupils were full of greed, and even contained obvious killing intent. Shu and Shinigami, standing on opposite sides since ancient times. Especially in the past hundreds of years, the invasion of Menos Grande happened many times, and the Gotei 13 Shinigami of successive dynasties paid the price with their lives. More importantly, Shu and Shinigami have a long lifespan, decades or even hundreds of years, which can only be regarded as a short period of life. So with the accumulation of generations, The hatred between Shinigami and Shu has reached the point of irreconcilability. Abaramar. Lord Baragan, you didn't order us to go through the black cavity specifically to deal with such a group of trash? The saber-toothed tiger roared insolently and contemptuously. Geo, any souls you meet should be killed, anyway, it won't take much effort. The humanoid griffin roared coldly. Then let's do it quickly, devour the souls of these trash, and hunt the Shinigami of Gode 13. Since the unification of Hueco Mundo, time has lost its meaning for Emperor Baragan, and we even had to divide into two factions, killing each other to pass the time. The saber-toothed tiger mentions the past deeds, the words are full of car-free meaning. In fact, it is true. Skeleton Emperor Baragan, as the current ruler of Hueco Mundo, is also the master of the Void Palace Fortress. He has under his command a powerful army composed of Menos Grande. Relying on the almost invincible, aging, power and a huge army, the Skeleton King almost swept the entire Hueco Mundo and became the Void King who dominates everything. Ever since. Under such a boring situation, the Emperor came up with an idea, to attack the Soul Society. And the arrival of the two subordinate officers, Geo and Abarama, means that this battle has begun. Wrong, there seems to be a different soul over there. Abarama flapped his wings, and he was about to start hunting when he suddenly acted. Pretty good Ryotsu, he must be a Shinigami? Geo, the saber-toothed tiger, soon realized it too. With curious gazes, the two looked down cautiously, and their gazes precisely landed on Ling Yun. A Ryotsu of the standard of a common seat officer, attracting the attention of two subordinate officers. This moment, Ling Yun also felt it. He raised his head calmly, stared at the black cavity passage, and looked at the two subordinate officers from the air. Eyes intertwined in midair, each other's hatred instantly filled up. Sure enough, he was targeted. Both of them must be held at the same time, otherwise the others will be in danger. Ling Yun's combat thinking is very clear, and he will not naively think that the opponent will easily let go of the area. Saber-toothed tigers and human-shaped griffins, he must fight 2 against 1. So Ling Yun decided to act first. 5.2, Hado's 54th, Waste Flame. As the Hado chant falls, the fused Ryotsu in Ling Yun's body continuously emanated out, turning into a disc-shaped pillar of inflammation. After upgrading the Waste Flame skill to the full level, the power and form will change at the same time, and the coverage area will also be significantly improved. Bang! With the sudden eruption of the pillar of flame, the air seemed to be detonated instantly, making a crackling sound, and it was pushed to the boiling point in a short time. It doesn't matter whether it's the escaped special training class students, or the two subordinate officers in midair. Immediately, there was a dry mouth feeling, as if the blood in the body was about to be ignited. Upgrade the power of Hado, shown to the fullest at this moment. Chapter 54. One-hit killing slash. Yan Zhu shot straight into the sky. Burned by the high-temperature flame, the air seemed to be detonated instantly, and it was pushed to the boiling point in a short time. After clearing up the battle ideas, Ling Yun decided to strike first. Coming up is a full-level waste flame. Under the trend of Ling Yun's will, the huge pillar of fire burned blazingly, aiming at the two subordinate officials. As this Shinigami's Hado, the towering flaming pillars were reflected in the pupils, and the vertical pupils of Geo and Abarama flashed horror at the same time. Why does something feel wrong? The humanoid griffin narrowed its eyes. The original arrogant arrogance seemed to be extinguished in an instant. Ling Yun, who thought he was the prey, suddenly took off his camouflage and revealed his ferocious fangs. The situation was reversed in an instant. Abaramar, get out of the way. The saber-toothed tiger Geo reacted first. He roared and snatched it to the other side, and nimbly left the spot quickly. Abarama followed closely behind, vigorously fanning the wings covering the sky and the sun, making a sharp cry before spreading his wings and soaring. And the moment the two left, Fei Yan's 11 fire pillars followed closely. The pillar of flame compressed to ultimate exploded in full view, bursting out with blazing flames. The whole sky above the desert. Suddenly there was an extremely spectacular scene, a floating sea of flames. What happened? A student of the special training class who was desperately fleeing. Hearing the loud noise coming from behind, they all stopped and looked back. When they saw the sea of flames floating in midair, everyone's faces were filled with horrified expressions. It's Ling Yun. Ling Yun is fighting Menos Grande. Not knowing who spoke first, the others quickly shifted their gazes to Ling Yun. Ling Yun's straight back looks like a towering mountain at this moment, bringing a sense of trustworthy trust. Suppressed the Menos Grande, looking at the two figures fleeing in embarrassment in the sky filled with flames. Everyone was severely shocked. As a freshman, facing Hueco Mundo's Menos Grande, he still calmly dealt with it. This courage alone deserves praise. What are you still doing? Instead of being in a daze here, why don't you go back to the camp and inform Instructor Hiyori and them? Seeing that all the companions were in a daze, they couldn't help but wanted to give them a punch. At the moment of life and death, the most important thing is to save your life. Staying here will only drag you down. Although Ling Yun entered the academy, it was only a few months. Although faced with the unexpected situation of Menos Grande, he showed a calm and steady side, and gave orders to his companions in an orderly manner. Sorry, I'm counting on you here. After being scolded by Ling Yun, the companions came back to their senses. Glancing tremblingly, behind the dozen or so figures of Gillian, everyone turned and left in horror, running towards the camp. Only Ling Yun was left to fight alone. Imp. It should be hard to be abandoned here by your companions alone, right? Not long after the others left, 10 sharp roars came from the sky. Although he escaped from the scope of the Sea of Fire, Aburama paid a certain price. The body of the proud griffin was burned by the explosion, and the red feathers fell off. He almost became a vulture. Seeing the other party's distraught look, Ling Yun touched the girdle and took out the sealed state without changing his face. You guys came from Suya Palace, right? Void Knight Palace. How do you know that? Gio the saber-toothed tiger appeared on the other side. Under the thick saber-toothed tiger skull, there was a surprised gaze. Before this invasion, Gio and Aburama had never left Hueco Mundo. As for the name, Suya Palace, not to mention the Shinigami of the Soul Society, even those in the outskirts may not know all of them. So now comes the problem. How did Ling Yun know about the existence of Suya Palace? Is this kind of thing so surprising? Facing the saber-toothed tiger's devouring eyes, Ling Yun's face remained calm. Anyway, you have no chance to go back. I didn't expect you to speak harsh words. Gio, the saber-toothed tiger, with his eyes gleaming fiercely, roared with bared teeth and claws. Hungry Wing Cannon. The irritable Aburama directly responded with a powerful ultimate move. The pair of crimson wings covering the sky and the sun burst out a series of extremely sharp heavy feathers at the same time, and the target was firmly locked on Ling Yun. Arrogant brat, after killing you, I will tear up your body and crush your head. Aburama roared with killing intent. Ling Yun's words just now, like a fuse, completely detonated his emotions. Little devil, give up struggling. Even the Menos Grande of the Void Palace may not be able to resist Aburama's quills. Gio, the saber-toothed tiger, watched from the sidelines. He looked at Ling Yun like he was looking at a dead person. It seems that Ling Yun's next death has been foreseen. Vicious, violent, vicious. The Menos Grande of the Void Knight Palace was as expected. No wonder the entire Hueco Mundo was reduced to Aizen's chess pieces. Ling Yun muttered to himself in disappointment. Gio, Aburama. As the subordinate officers of Baragan, the strength of the two of them is beyond doubt. However, limited by life level 317, there is a limit to how strong Gillian is, not to mention that the two of them did not become a Ronkar. Therefore, the seemingly inescapable ultimate move actually poses no threat to Ling Yun. Shunpo. There was no movement from Ling Yun either. With a burst of chaos in the surrounding space, without anyone noticing, Ling Yun naturally created an afterimage. The next moment, countless crimson wings descended from the sky. It landed on Ling Yun with incomparable precision. Cut. It turned out to be just a trash who uttered wild words. Fortunately, I thought I met a decent opponent. Looking at the scene in front of him, the saber-toothed tiger Gio sneered disdainfully. Gio. I can clearly sense that there are more than a dozen auras nearby that don't look too bad. Let's start hunting together later. Aburama flapped his wings and soared back and forth in midair. Shinigami. I will devour their souls. The saber-toothed tiger Gio roared in the sky, and the berserk auras suddenly dispersed, kicking up thick dust on the ground. Just when the two relaxed their vigilance, Ling Yun's voice that shouldn't have appeared suddenly sounded like a soul voice. The Menos Grande of the Void Knight Palace, you have no chance of hunting Shinigami. With the sound, there is also a slash that kills with one blow. Chapter 55 Upgraded version of the Double Lotus Konghuo Pendant. The Void Knight Palace Menos Grande, you have no chance of hunting Shinigami. Appearing with Ling Yun's voice, there is also a slash that kills with one blow. How could he be alive? Aburama's expression froze for an instant. Grumble, it raised its head full of anger and let out a piercing scream. Ling Yun came back from the dead suddenly, make Aburama feel ashamed of being teased. Burnt, but the next moment, a white light flashed past, and immediately a shocking bloodstain appeared on one of its wings. Tick-tock tick. Blood gushed out continuously like a spring, and the sky that had just been burned by the Sea of Fire suddenly filled with a pungent and unpleasant smell of blood. What? Aburama's expression became hideous and terrifying because of the pain. The slash that Ling Yun created completely escaped its Ryotsu perception, and cut off one of the wings neatly. The majestic skeleton emperor, the subordinate officer under his command. He suffered a serious injury not long after he appeared on the stage. Aburama, are you alright? Jiu, who originally had the mentality of watching a movie and didn't plan to make a move, still didn't even react. He subconsciously looked towards where Ling Yun was originally, only to find that the afterimage had disappeared. It turned out to be an illusion. Unable to believe what he saw, the saber-toothed tiger bared its teeth and roared. Impossible, absolutely impossible, I just sensed his breath. Perhaps sight can deceive, but Ryotsu perception does not. The saber-toothed tiger Gio firmly believes that there will be no mistakes in his Ryotsu perception. The Ling Yun, just now is definitely dead, facing his questioning. Ling Yun chose to respond with actions. 63 of Bakuto, chains and locks. Bakuto, after abandoning the chant, because it has been upgraded to the full level, also has a shocking effect. Gio, Abrahamar, the space around the two of them appeared out of thin air like cobweb-like locks. Not only that, the surface of this radiant spiderweb is covered with a tiny arc of lightning, and there is even a bone-piercing gust of wind attached to it. Thunder and wind attributes are perfectly integrated into Bakuto. This makes the upgraded lock bars more lethal to a certain extent. I just learned this trick not long ago, so I just took you two to try it out. Trapping his opponent effortlessly, Ling Yun didn't stop moving. The Hado chant came from his mouth again. O King's Lander, the mask of flesh and blood, the vicissitudes, the fluttering wings, the one who is crowned with the name of man. Carve the double lotus on the wall of the blue fire, and wait for the abyss of fire in the distant sky. Hado's 73, double lotus Konghuo pendant. The majestic Ryotsu of the ordinary officer level, and the additional bonus of Hado's talent, the two groups exuded hot and high temperature explosions, and they were condensed and formed in Ling Ku's hands in an instant. Immediately push the temperature of the air to the boiling point. It's stronger than that pillar of flame just now. The eyes reflected two shining fireballs. The eyes of Gio and Aburama under the mask were full of dead silence. The imposing manner of Shuanglan Konghuo falling. Let them feel the deadly threat. Even scarier. The two balls of explosives in Ling Yun's hands, as time went by, kept changing various shapes, as if they had a special breath of life. That's right. This is the effect after the skill is upgraded to the full level. Originally it was just an ordinary pyroblast, but now it has the ability to transform. Its power and attack range have also doubled. Although it's the first time I use this trick, it should be able to kill you. Holding a ball of pyrobomb in each hand, under the reflection of the firelight, Ling Yun looked like a demon king from the depths of hell. If there were outsiders present, they would definitely be deeply shocked by this scene. A freshman in the special training class, relying on his own strength, overwhelmed the two Void Knight Palace Menos Grande, and also had an absolute upper hand. Ling Yun's fighting power is amazing. Do it. Blast this damned brat to pieces. Aburama endured the severe pain and cast orders towards the Menos Grande group. Gillian, who was originally ignorant, fixed his empty eyes on Ling Yun after receiving Aburama's order. Whoa, the sound, which was almost howls of wraiths, resounded over the entire desert. The violent Ryotsu spread violently like a tide, the thick clouds under the scorching sun continued to roll, and the whole sky shrouded in an atmosphere of uneasiness. In front of the white mask, Ryotsu quickly condensed, refracting a dazzling red light. This is an ability unique to Menos Grande, Sero. In just a few breaths, more than a dozen bright red flashes completely dyed the clouds in midair red. All Sero targets Ling Yun. Are you going to die with me? Even in danger, Ling Yun still has Shisui in his heart. He has dealt with the Shinigami team for a long time, and he has a strong combat power, so naturally he will not be afraid of the low-level Gillian. Quantities are a bit tricky though, but Ling Yun is confident that his twin lotus Konghuo pendant is enough to instantly kill all Gillians together. This barren desert, similar to the environment of Hueco Mundo, just happens to be your burial place. Ling Yun yelled violently and let go of his hands. The two balls of flames in his hands exploded, pushing forward with all his strength. Immediately afterwards, the unbelievable scene happened again. In the process of gliding, Yan Bao turned into a lifelike humanoid griffin. Good shape, good looks. The transformed pyro is almost exactly the same as Aburama. Hateful. You actually came up with such a method, what a vicious brat. Looking at the galloping pyroblast, Aburama's lungs exploded in anger. He can clearly feel the terrifying power contained in the flame explosion. Once it is accurately hit, it is inevitable that one's life will be lost, and it may even evaporate instantly. Qian Zhao. If he was really killed by himself in the explosive form. That would be truly murderous. Gio, do your best to kill this brat. Aburama fanned the remaining wings, and there was only anger in his eyes. You don't need to remind me of this kind of thing. Gio scolded angrily. The two canine teeth on his lower jaw burst out with intense red light, and he also used the strongest killing move. Unfortunately, it was too late. At the moment when Sero blasted out, the explosion in the shape of a griffin had already come to the two of them. Bang! Finally, there was a deafening bang. The wave of flames formed after the explosion burst, like a surging tsunami, swept every corner of this desert. This killing move seems to announce that this battle is coming to an end. Only one side will survive. Chapter 56 Ling Yun's brilliant achievement. The screen shifts. Base camp for field training. Just when Ling Yun was fighting Menos Grande, the appearance of the black tunnel caused the order of the camp to become chaotic. Look, the sky is shattered. What the hell is that? Isn't it the gateway to Hueco Mundo? Those students who have not yet left the camp will show horrified expressions whenever they look at the black cavity passage. Since the enrollment time is not long, most people know nothing about the black cavity, and only a few people guess that it has something to do with Hueco Mundo. The dark and empty passage exudes a dark dead silence, accompanied by strong negative emotions. Its appearance caused a sensation in an instant. Shit. There is a black cavity channel? Hiyori looked up at the sky, feeling uneasy. She knew one thing right away, the Menos Grande had arrived. Vice Captain Hiyori, the place where the black cavity appeared seems to be the training ground of the special training class. Elder Akita, who was the leader of the team, hurried over here. Director Akita's words were like a blockbuster bomb, blasting into Hiyori's heart in an instant. His face suddenly changed again and again. Damn it, Ling Yun and the others are still over there, I have to go to the 380 to rescue immediately. Hiyori's thoughts were disordered, and his heart was full of anxiety. I thought I didn't need to worry too much about this field training. Unexpectedly, Menos Grande came suddenly, and what he encountered was not his own students. Hiyori immediately fidgeted. Vice Captain Hiyori, since the situation over there is temporarily unknown, I suggest you wait until all the mentors are assembled before going together. Director Akita put forward a pertinent suggestion. No. Then it will be too late, I have to race against time. With hardly a second to think, Hiyori refused without thinking. Without even looking back, she lifted Zanpakuto and turned away, quickly disappearing from everyone's sight. For Hiyori, this is an urgent rescue. If something happens to Ling Yun, she will never forgive herself no matter what. Hey, I'm really impatient. The risk of acting rashly is too great. Why don't you want to wait a little longer? Director Akita shook his head helplessly and sighed. Without any choice, he can only conduct emergency dispatch and organize the mentors to rescue. The original chaotic order has become orderly again with Director Akita in charge. The other side. The screen returns to the desert. Clatter. The explosion of the double lotus blue fire pendant and the indiscriminate explosion of the Sero beams reduced this land to ruins. Looking around, there are raging flames everywhere, as well as the black smoke left by the Sero explosion. It seems that this place has just experienced a big battle. Call. A steady breathing sound broke the silence first. I saw Ling Yun, who was wearing a white student uniform, slowly walking out of the thick fog. Although there were some stains on his clothes and face, there were no injuries. Obviously not affected by the explosion. All Gillian's aura has disappeared, and it should be killed by the Xuanlen Konghuo pendant. Ling Yun used Ryatsu's perception and sensed it carefully. In the dense fog in front of him, except for two faint auras, the other auras have disappeared without a trace. And those two breaths naturally needless to say. Gio, Aburama. These two subordinate officials of the Skeleton Emperor were already dying after being severely injured by the Xuanlen Konghuo pendant. As predicted. As time went by, the black fog gradually dissipated. Humanoid griffins and saber-toothed tigers appeared within sight. Compared with when they first appeared on the stage, their image has become very embarrassing. Not to mention the human-shaped griffin, which had already lost its wing before, and now it was attacked by the explosion, and all its feathers were burned, completely turning into a vulture. As for the saber-toothed tiger, the two iconic canine teeth have all been broken. BBCI, the black tiger stripes on the back, and because of the large area of scars, look extremely bloody. The situation for both of them is horrible. Damn, damn, damn. You almost killed me, Aburama roared like crazy. Until this moment, his arrogance has completely disappeared, and he is even facing death at any time. As for Gio, because of the shattering of Hoya, his mouth was covered with blood, and he couldn't say a word. He glared at Ling Yun angrily, his pupils full of ultimate killing intent. There is one sentence that must correct you. Not nearly killed, but dying immediately. Ling Yun didn't show any mercy, because he didn't intend to give the other party any chance. Thundering chariot, gap in the spinning wheel, this thing has lights clustered and divided into 6. 61 of Bakudo, the 6-stick light prison. As the Bakudo chant falls, more than a dozen blazing and shining light sheets appeared around the two of them out of thin air, and because of the inescapable cage, they instantly sealed the two subordinate officials inside. The light blooms and is unbreakable. The actions of griffins and saber-toothed tigers are completely blocked. Ling Yun picked up the sealed state again, with a little smile on his face. The sealed state and Zanpakuto, with the ability to purify the soul, are the best weapons against the void. Now that the two subordinate officials are in front of him, Ling Yun will naturally not miss this opportunity. What are you going to do? When he found that no matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free from the 6-stick light prison, the remaining emotions finally collapsed. In Aburama's pupils, there was a look of boundless fear. At this time, Ling Yun, in its view, is more like a ghost with a butcher knife, who will judge his own fate at any time. Damn it, to die like this is really ashamed of the Emperor's years of cultivation. Jiu let out a beast-like roar, struggling desperately with his broken body. It's a pity that the more they struggle, the stronger the bondage becomes. In the end, he even lost the strength to struggle, and could only watch Ling Yun approaching helplessly. Do not worry. Although I haven't been to Hueco Mundo yet, this desert that has been reduced to ruins should not be much different from it. It is quite suitable for burying your corpses. Ling Yun's voice seemed to judge the iron law of fate. Finally, meeting the eyes of the two subordinate officers, he waved the sealed state expressionlessly. Brush following a flash of white light, blood flowers fluttered one after another, accompanied by a pungent bloody smell. Gillian groups numbering up to a dozen, and the two subordinate officers under the Skeleton Emperor. All were killed by Ling Yun, and their souls were also purified. As a freshman, Ling Yun has achieved an incomparably brilliant record by relying entirely on her own strength. Chapter 57 Hueco Mundo King's Wrath. Although the process was full of crises, the overall situation was safe and sound. Ling Yun wiped away the bloodstains on the sealed state, and heaved a sigh of relief. Relying on his own strength, he killed an astonishing number of Gillian groups, as well as the 2 subordinate officers of the Skeleton Emperor. His first actual combat ended with a perfect record. It's a big step forward from the awakening of Zanpakuto, and it seems that the actual combat effect is the best. Ling Yun looked down at the sealed state, his eyes flashed with strong expectations. In addition to the 4 common fighting techniques, Zanpakuto, Shinigami relies most on the power of Zanpakuto. A powerful Zanpakuto, which can bring a huge increase in combat power. Fire is the strongest Zanpakuto Ryujin Jaka, Ice is the strongest Zanpakuto Hirenmaru, and Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu, etc. They may have extremely strong attack power, or have the power to control the weather, or control almost unsolvable illusions. Even functional Zanpakuto, such as Hueishian Ogu, Jinshiluo, etc., also have special Kido attack skills. Therefore, the existence of Zanpakuto and Shinigami complement each other, and the 2 achieve each other. With such a big commotion, the camp should be affected, right? Ling Yun put the sealed state in his belt, tidied up his clothes, and walked towards the camp. But he didn't go far, and there was a sound of breaking wind. Call out, I saw a familiar figure passing through the woods at an extremely fast speed, heading towards me. Is it Hiyori? Ling Yun recognized each other at a glance. To be honest, for a moment, he was a little moved. Looking at Hiyori, the eager expression on his face, and his desperate actions. Ling Yun really warmed my heart. Ling Yun, are you okay? Hiyori soon discovered Ling Yun. She eagerly came to the front, looked carefully from top to bottom, and was completely relieved when she saw that Ling Yun was not injured. If anything happens to Ling Yun, she will definitely blame herself very much. I'm fine, Mr. Hiyori, thank you for your concern. Ling Yun smiled. Where's Menos Grande? The black cavity also disappeared. What happened just now? Looking at the near-ruined scenes around him, Hiyori couldn't help but groan. Unimaginable. How fierce the battle broke out to cause such exaggerated traces of destruction. What the hell happened just now? 2 Menos Grandes from Void Knight Palace, and a group of low-ranking Gillians, suddenly came out of the dark tunnel, and then the battle broke out just now. Ling Yun briefly described it. Menos Grande from the Night Palace. After hearing the special words, Suyegung, Hiyori was instantly struck by lightning. As the vice-captain of the 12th Division, Hikafuna Kiryu has been with him all year round, and Hiyori has learned more secrets than other vice-captains. What does Suya Palace mean? I know it clearly. Suddenly, an inexplicable uneasiness enveloped Hiyori's heart. Ling Yun, come back to the camp with me first, and later you will report what happened just now to Director Akita in detail. Hiyori solemnly ordered. I understand, don't worry, I won't miss any details. Ling Yun nodded. He could understand Hiyori's mood. After all, at this moment in time, the Technology Development Bureau had not been established, and the Soul Society's security system was not as perfect as it was later. Any news about Hueco Mundo will have a negative impact. Soon after. Base camp for field training. No way, an ordinary Gillian is already scary enough, but there is even a Menos Grande from the Void Palace. Director Akita's exclamation resounded throughout the camp. His old wrinkled face looked like an old chrysanthemum. The news that Ling Yun brought back shocked Elder Akita's emotions severely. Elder Akita, since this accident happened, there is no need to continue the field drill. Hiyori put forward his opinion. Vice Captain Hiyori, I agree with your point of view. I will order it later and notify every class. When the morning sun rises tomorrow, everyone will return to Jingling immediately, and this area will be sealed off. Director Akita responded decisively. As the leader of the field training, he was the first to be responsible for such an accident. Therefore, in order to be on the safe side, Director Akita had to make a temporary decision even though he was always conservative. It's the best way to handle it. Hiyori nodded slightly, and then mentioned another matter. However, I think that apart from the captain, Room 46 should also be involved. Ask for flowers. Room 46? Director Akita's eyes flickered, and there was obviously a trace of helplessness. Central 46 is the highest judicial organ of the Soul Society, composed of 40 sages and 6 judges gathered from the entire territory of the Soul Society. They hold the supreme power and have the right to judge anyone. The Shinigami of Godai 13 will be judged by the 46 chambers once they commit any crimes in the Soul Society or in this world. After their ruling, if it is necessary to use force, they will use the secret message tunnel to issue orders to the secret maneuver with the secret order talisman. The most important thing is that no matter whether the final result is fair or not, no one else is allowed to raise objections to the judgment made by the 46th room, even the chief. It can be seen from this. Why is Director Akita so afraid? He didn't want to have anything to do with Room 46. With the character of those old men, the Menos Grande invasion happened, and they should make a big fuss about it. When mentioning Room 46, Hiyori was a little emotional. The trial in the 46 room has always been rigid and impersonal, and this aspect has been resisted by Shinigami more than once. But the rules and regulations of the Soul Society are like this. Even the high-ranking Captain Shinigami will be judged and imprisoned in an instant as long as room 46 issues an order. I hope the negative impact will not be too great. Director Akita didn't hold out much hope. Do you think it's possible? Hiyori denied his idea. In recent years, false attacks have often occurred in the fringe area of Rukongai and caused many casualties. The long-standing grievances may break out into a real war because of this accident. A war between the Soul Society and Hueco Mundo. There was a certainty in Hiyori's words. At the same time, right here at the Shinigami camp, there was a lot of trouble because of the Menos Grande invasion incident. The Void Palace in the middle of Hueco Mundo. Also because of the death of two subordinate officials, some disputes and changes occurred. The most notable of them all, none other than the Hueco Mundo King's Fury Volcano. Chapter 58 heading to Rukongai Hueco Mundo, as a living space. Compared with Soul Society, here you can hardly feel the bustling and peaceful atmosphere, and the overall environment and landforms are extremely harsh. There is no prosperous and developed business, no dense flow of people, and no different blocks divided by serial numbers. Not to mention a complete street, even a complete building, it is almost difficult to find traces, only the heinous desert with no end in sight. Without any exaggeration, it's a barren place here. Especially on that piece of barren desert with no end in sight, there are only a few bare stone pillars standing upright, and there is no water source or vegetation. Even if there are some things that are similar to dead branches, they are actually just quartz condensed by wind and sand. There is no blue sky, no white clouds, only eternal night. The entire virtual 610 circle exudes dilapidated atmosphere everywhere, just like a real hell. And in the peripheral area of Hueco Mundo, there are various small animals with different shapes and empty holes. These small animals have no emotions in themselves, living like walking dead. Their heads are covered with bone masks, and their vertical pupils are dark red in color, without any emotional fluctuations, constantly walking through the desert. In fact, the species of Hueco Mundo has an unusual lifestyle due to its high concentration of spirits. To survive the void here, one only needs to absorb the spirit particles in the air to continuously increase its strength, but the growth process is extremely slow and requires years of accumulation. In addition to this natural growth method, there is actually another way, that is devouring. By constantly hunting and devouring, absorbing other voids to increase strength, it can also continue to evolve and move towards a higher level of life. However, it is precisely because of this behavior that Hueco Mundo has cruel survival rules, and because of its lack of emotion, Hueco Mundo has been in a state of splitting. It was not until the appearance of Vasto Lord that the situation of Hueco Mundo was completely changed. Skeleton King with aging power, Baragan Ruizan. At this time, the most central part of Hueco Mundo, the legendary Void Knight Palace. Although it is named after the palace, strictly speaking, it is just an open-air fortress. On the highest throne, a figure exuding a powerful aura supported the white stone platform with one hand, and ruled the entire Suya Palace like an emperor. Baragan wears a luxurious multi-layered crown, and the entire head and body are made of translucent white bones. A long silver chain, along the corner of the crown, falls vertically on the back. On the front of his chest was a golden death chain, and a pair of boots were worn on the hollow soles of his feet, and his whole body was covered with dark flames. Just sitting there, the skeleton emperor exuded an aura of silence, especially those empty eyes, like an abyss that would choose someone to devour. The vast breath of death surges like a tide. As long as anything touched, whether it is the earth, clouds, or even the air, it will all be wiped out in a short moment. The majesty of the emperor is on full display. Well, Gio, Aburama, was killed by Shinigami from Soul Society. The skeleton's wrists turned outward, and Baragan's voice was hollow as a ghost. Below the throne, on the aisles on the left and right sides, stood densely packed huge figures. These are all Menos Grande from the Void Knight Palace. The reason why they are divided into two different batches is entirely because the skeleton emperor wants to pass the time. Saber-toothed tiger Gio, Griffin Aburama, it is one of the best. Emperor. It's a pity that I couldn't witness the scene at that time, otherwise they wouldn't have died meaninglessly. A somewhat feminine voice sounded. Although the owner of this voice has a burly body, his movements are somewhat heterosexual. Compared with the other Menos Grande around him, he seems a bit out of place. He is also one of the subordinate officers of the skeleton emperor. Charlotte Galufeng. Charlotte is right. The strength of Gio and Aburama is considered outstanding in Hueco Mundo, and they were killed so easily. The person who took the shot should be Captain Shinigami, right? It was followed by another voice containing suspicion and doubt. It was a crab like Menos Grande with a huge pincer on its right arm and purple lines all over its body. They are also subordinate officials of the skeleton emperor. Fandleguy Elias. Stop unnecessary suspicion and panic. Sitting above the throne, Baragan let out a low growl of displeasure, his white forehead opening and closing. The power I control is aging, no matter what it is, as long as it gets close to me, it will continue to age and decay until it eventually dies. The slender bone fingers were slightly upturned, and Baragan's words revealed absolute confidence. Normal Shinigami, or Captain Shinigami. In the face of the power of aging that I have mastered, I will be as small as a reptile. The screen shifts. West Rukongai 80th block. Because of the Menos Grande invasion accident, the 1-month field training was even forced to be suspended shortly after it started. With no other choice, the tutors and colleges of the lower grades could only be forced to return to the Jingling court, but there was an extra gap of nearly a month. The camp where the special training class is located. Ling Yun, are you really so determined? Hiyori asked. Mr. Hiyori, I finally came to Rukongai, and it is still a block with a lower number. Naturally, I should take this opportunity to make a living. I don't want to be bored in Jingling court all the time. Ling Yun actually made up his mind early on. Take advantage of this month's free time to explore Rukongai. After all, at this time point, many special plot characters are still wandering in various neighborhoods of Rukongai. Ichimaru Jin, Matsumoto Rangaku, Madarei Mikaku, Ayasagawa Yumichika, and even Zaraki Kenpachi. 5.4 Although you may not be sure, if you can meet everyone, at least you will have a chance to meet them. That's why he asked to leave. Ling Yun, I have already discussed this matter with Director Akita, and he agreed to approve a 1-month vacation, so you can go with peace of mind. Hiyori nodded in agreement. However, in her words, there are obvious reluctance and rare worries. After all, there are more than 300 blocks in the whole Rukongai, and the area is dozens of times that of Jingling. It has historically happened that some Shinigami soldiers died in Rukongai. Although Ling Yun's strength lies there, Hiyori still can't help but worry. In fact, to put it bluntly, Hiyori hopes to travel with Ling Yun, but he is limited by his status as the vice captain. Therefore, he could only helplessly watch Ling Yun leave. Chapter 59 Time flies. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. North Rukongai, Block 76. Compared with West Rukongai, the folk customs here are obviously much tougher. No wonder there are so many famous plot characters born. Ling Yun walked on the street, meditating thoughtfully. After more than half a month, he started all the way from West Rukongai, and finally came to Rukongai after several rounds. However, since the serial numbers are almost the same, the situation in North Rukongai is not much better. Looking around, there are destroyed houses everywhere, and the floor of the street is cracked everywhere. Not only is the law and order chaotic, but also the popularity is low. Of course, there are few shops. For such a situation, Ling Yun has long been familiar with it. After going to Block 80, he was mentally prepared to accept any harsh environment. Of course, Ling Yun is not walking aimlessly. The reason why Kita Rukongai was chosen was because of the Zaraki team trio, Zaraki Kenpachi, Madarei Mikaku, and Ayasagawa Yumichika. After all, it is more than 100 years ago, and Zaraki Kenpachi has not yet become the captain of the 111th team, so if you want to meet them, you can only come to North Rukongai. Speaking of which, it's still a few blocks away from Zaraki district. How come you haven't seen bald heads and transvestites yet? Ling Yun kept observing along the way. As long as there are similar people, he will deliberately look at them twice. It's a pity that every time it is a disappointing result. Madarei Mikaku, Ayasagawa Yumichika. If I want to meet this pair of living treasures in the vast crowd, I'm afraid I have to wait until the year of the monkey. Oh, forget it for now, find a place to rest for a while. After Ling Yun chose a direction, he quickly disappeared at the end of the street. But no one noticed. Not long after Ling Yun's figure disappeared, a figure at the corner of the street not far away witnessed the whole process. It was a man with a soft figure, short light purple hair, a special feather at the corner of his right eye, a light purple robe, and a handsome face. Although he looks weak, but this handsome man has a reputation in this area, and he and his partner are regarded as one of the overlords of this block. North Rukongai famous wanderer, Ayasagawa Yumichika. The kid just now should be a student of the Junyang Academy? Through Ling Yun's white student uniform, Ayasagawa Yumichika recognized his identity. It seems that today's luck is not bad. I went out for a leisurely trip and met someone who was about to become a Shinigami. Ayasagawa Yumichika stood in the shadow and laughed maliciously. If Yijao gets the news, he will be excited, right? The corner of Ayasagawa Yumichika's mouth was outlined with an arc. Apparently he's after Ling Yun, although in terms of appearance, it has nothing to do with masculinity. However, Ayasagawa himself has a meticulous mind that is different from his appearance. The partner in the corner of the eye, the two knew each other very early and wandered together in Rukongai. The neighborhoods with lower numbers are also prosperous. As a ruthless character of the overlord level in a few blocks nearby, Ayasagawa Yumichika is naturally wary of the students of Mailing Academy. Report to Madarei Mikaku that completely defeating Ling Yun is his current plan. A corner. Usually you're always yelling about being bored. A student from the Shinyang Academy should make you want to fight? As if talking to himself, Ayasagawa turned around and left. Soon after. Block 76, a remote corner. A corner, that's how it happened. That kid seems to be pretty good. Ayasagawa Yumichika described in detail the whole process of secretly observing. The fierce figure standing in front of him was the well-known strong man in this block. A combat madman with the nickname, Bald, Madarei Mikaku. He has solid muscles and a big bald head like a marinated egg. He was wearing a long brown cloth, with a pair of wooden clogs on his feet, and red eyeshadow at the corners of his long and narrow eyes. Compared with 100 years later, the overall image of Madarame Makaku has not changed too much. As one of the famous strong men in Rukongai, Madarame Makaku hangs out in this neighborhood all the year round. He is one of the few villains to be feared and is also Yasugawa Yumichika's most trusted partner. Hearing the detailed ins and outs, with Madarame Makaku's combative character, it is logical that he also has his eye on Ling Yun. "Kaku, are you already ready to move?" Yasugawa Yumichika said with a smile. "Brother Gong, what else?" A student of Jenyang Lingyuan Academy, an interesting guy finally came. How could I easily miss it? Madarame Makaku burst out with a fierce fighting spirit. "One corner, tidy up, I probably know his whereabouts." Yasugawa Yumichika had a look of eagerness on his face. "Whether it's student Mao or Shinigami, anyone will be defeated by me." Madarame Makaku slapped like chicken blood boiling all over his body. Soon after, an hour passed in a blink of an eye. "Yijiao, please don't dawdle, it will be a long way to go from here, and the sun will go down later." An urging voice came from the room. I saw Yasugawa Yumichika, with an impatient expression, standing in front of a mirror. He kept flicking the colorful feathers at the corners of his eyes with his hands, shaking his head from side to side from time to time, and his every move exuded a sense of anger. Honestly, there seems to be nothing wrong with describing her as a hermaphrodite. "Dear Gong, wait a minute, I'm still fixing my hair." An unhappy voice came from inside the room. What, 150, did I hear correctly just now? You said you want to fix your hair?" Yasugawa Yumichika was taken aback for a moment, and then couldn't help but burst out laughing. "A corner, even if it takes a little time, you don't need to deliberately tell a bad joke. Obviously there's no hair at all, so I need to tidy up a chicken hair hairstyle." "Just talking nonsense. Come on, what are you talking about? Isn't he just Mao's brat? The result is the same if you go early or late." Madarame Makaku tidied up his clothes and picked up a long gun. "Jong, even though you said that, don't take it lightly. I think that kid seems quite confident," Yasugawa Yumichika reminded. Madarame Makaku grinned disdainfully. "Confidence. I will let him understand later that even a student of the Junyang Academy is not qualified to set foot on Rukongai at will." "Well, with your words, I am completely relieved." Yasugawa Yumichika smiled with satisfaction. "Dear Gong, we've been hanging out together for so many years, what kind of storms and waves have we never seen? I never seem to let you down, right?" Madarame Makaku began to brag. "I'll be in charge of tracking later, and I'll leave that kid to you to deal with." Yasugawa Yumichika responded. "Relax though." Madarame Makaku touched his bald head, a confident arc was drawn at the corner of his mouth. "Lousy is the man who wants to dominate Rukongai." Chapter 60 on sneak attack and being sneak attacked. Soon after, on the outskirts of Block 76, a dilapidated house. "There is still half a month left in the holiday, after that I can only blame luck. If I still can't find anyone, then I can only go back to the Jenyang Lingyuan Academy." Ling Yun sat on a wooden chair, looking helplessly outside the window. Although he is a person with a background, however, Ling Yun still dare not violate the rules and regulations of the college at will. If he really did not return after the deadline, once the high-level officials of the academy found out, I am afraid that Yoruichi would come forward to mediate in person, and he might not be able to continue to stay in the academy. Therefore, for Ling Yun, time is a bit tight, he has to race against time. Just then, Russell, there was a sudden noise in the jungle on the left side of the house. The sudden movement immediately attracted Ling Yun's attention. When he looked in the direction of the sound, with his keen Reiatsu perception, he caught two gradually approaching figures. What? Ling Yun felt carefully for a while. After confirming again and again, he suddenly widened his eyes. "No way, am I really opening my mouth?" After identifying the other party's identity through Reiatsu, the corners of Ling Yun's mouth turned up excitedly. "Madarame Makaku, Yasugawa Yumichika." Even though we hadn't met before, but a strong sense told Ling Ku that he finally waited. "Ladyboys and baldheads, I've been looking for you for half a month." Ling Yun at least got up, came to the edge of the window sill, and looked at the jungle in the distance. Sure enough, through the gap in the jungle, the two figures walked quickly, and they could even vaguely see each other's appearance. That's right, these two uninvited guests were exactly what Ling Yun was looking forward to. At the same time, in the jungle outside the house, Madarame Makaku, Yasugawa Yumichika, the two zipped through it. "One corner, you should have sensed it." "I sensed it. At that moment just now, the whereabouts of the two of us have been exposed." The two talked to each other. "But, don't you think it's weird? That Mao boy in the house?" Yasugawa Yumichika asked puzzledly, evidently sensed our breath, but still didn't take any action. "Idiot. Choosing to run away at this time is the most stupid thing to do." Madarame Makaku mercilessly criticized. "How to say? Dear Gong, it seems that you still don't have enough experience." Madarame Makaku shook his head in disappointment, and then patiently explained, in this narrow terrain, even if you run away, you will definitely be caught up, and the consequences will be even more serious, and he should have realized this. 27. I see. Ayasagawa Yumachika suddenly realized. Look at you. You just look in the mirror all day long, you're not as good as an ordinary kid. Madarame Makaku's head reflected a dazzling luster under the scorching sun. From a distance, it really looks like a big light bulb. The screen returns to the house. This distance should be enough. Just when the bald head and the she-male were talking to each other, Ling Yun stood on the edge of the windowsill, also secretly observing and looking for the right time. Bald, she-male. It's rare to see each other, so I'll give you a big gift. Ling Yun's eyes burst out with scorching fighting intent. King's Lander. The mask of flesh and blood, Vientiane, fluttering wings, and the name of human beings. Burning heat and strife, across the sea, turn south, and move forward. 31 of Hado, Red Cannon. As the chant fell, Ryotsu broke out in Ling Yun's body. Boom. The fiery red dazzling light immediately illuminated the entire room. Accompanied by the majestic Ryotsu, violent turbulent ups and downs, and extremely violent high-temperature explosions, suddenly spewed out from Ling Yun's body towards the surroundings. After the skill reaches the full level, it will be cast in the form of singing. Even for mid-level Kido, the power of the blue fire pendant is still insanely powerful. Following that, Pyroblast was released from his hands, rushing into the air at an extremely fast speed. The temperature of the air is pushed to the boiling point, turning into a high-temperature furnace. The dilapidated house where Ling Yun lived was torn to pieces in a very short period of time because it could not withstand the high temperature, and the scene quickly became a mess. The other side, she-males and bald heads are in the jungle. Huh? Not quite right. Madarame Makaku frowned and looked around. Yumi-san, do you feel that the temperature around is getting hotter and hotter? Definitely quirky. Ayasagawa Yumachika nodded. However, a few seconds later, when he saw the scorching hot explosion that was attacking him head-on, the expressions on the faces of the two suddenly changed again and again. This is Hado of Shinigami. We've been ambushed. Madarame Makaku gritted his teeth, nudged his companion, and quickly rolled to the other side. Bang! In the next second, Red Cannon followed. A wave of heat whizzed by, and the scorching flames blazed, instantly igniting the weeds everywhere. Due to her slow reaction, Ayasagawa Yumachika was rather embarrassed, and even the feather in the corner of her eye was almost burnt by the dancing fire. The originally stable duo suddenly became embarrassed. Damn it. I didn't expect that in the 76th block, the two of us would be attacked unexpectedly. Ace Chuan prostrated himself on the ground, gnashing his teeth and hammering the ground. Since years ago, he teamed up with Madarame Makaku and wiped out all enemies in the area. He became the overlord of Block 76. Originally holding the mentality of killing time, I planned to have some fun with Ling Yun, but I almost overturned my car unexpectedly. For skinheads and ladyboys, this result is simply unbearable. My dear, are you alright? Then came Madarame Makaku's voice. I'm fine, but next, we must find the place. Gritting her teeth, Ayasagawa Yumachika stood up again from the ground. For him who is extremely smug, he can bear it simply by being injured, but it is another matter to be almost disfigured. Ayasagawa Yumachika, who loves beauty as much as her life, entered the runaway mode in an instant. Dragon. Dragon. Although we were attacked by surprise, this also proves that we did not make a mistake this time. Madarame Makaku picked up the red tasseled gun, and his fighting spirit rose again. Ling Yun's sneak attack this time was like beating a war drum, awakening Madarame Makaku's long-lost blood. He has dominated the 76th block for many years, and even wiped out the first few blocks. Madarame Makaku has been a battle madman for many years and hasn't been able to fully enjoy the fun of fighting. And the appearance of Ling Yun, let him see a glimmer of hope. Chapter 61 Rukongai's #1 dancer. The battle was extremely tense. Because of the bombardment of the red artillery, heat waves can be seen everywhere in the jungle that was originally covered with weeds. Madarame Makaku and Ayasagawa Yumachika stood up in some embarrassment. Dear Bo. Although we were attacked by surprise, this also proves that we did not make a mistake this time. Madarame Makaku picked up the red tasseled gun, and his fighting spirit rose again. Ling Yun's surprise attack this time was like beating a war drum, awakening the long-lost blood in the bald head. Madarame Makaku was carrying a spear, staring forward with fighting spirit. Yijiao, I think it's better for the two of us to be cautious. You have seen the power of that move just now. Ayasagawa Yumachika kindly reminded. Yumi-san, are you retreating? Madarame Makaku frowned. One corner. I never admitted that. Don't make wild guesses there. Ayasagawa Yumachika rolled her eyes at the other party with a look of contempt on her face. Huh. That's right. This is the Yuki I know. The corners of Madarame Makaku's mouth outlined an arc of excitement. I can't wait. I want to witness it with my own eyes, and he can respect me in front of me. Even if they didn't even see each other in this confrontation, they had already suffered a hidden loss. Bald is still confident and strong, after half a sound. As Ling Yun walked out of the house, the two sides finally met. 897, so young? Looking at Ling Yun's immature face, Madarame Makaku raised his eyebrows in surprise. At least in terms of age and appearance, Ling Yun is somewhat different from what he imagined. Madarame Makaku, Ayasagawa Yumichika. I didn't expect that the two of you would take the initiative to come to the door. Ling Yun spoke bluntly and named the two of them. This move, like a thunderbolt from the blue sky, immediately changed the expressions of the two of them drastically. What, Yumi, did I hear right? He actually knows our names. Madarame Makaku held the red sakura gun in his hand, and his expression became a little strange. One corner, think about it, this is quite normal, right? Ayasagawa Yumichika said a little narcissistically, after all, we are a few blocks away, and we are famous people. What you said makes sense. Madarame Makaku nodded in agreement. After a disagreement, the two began to perform cross-talk in front of Ling Yun. Puff. Sure enough, they are two living treasures with peculiar personalities. Ling Yun almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Bald and shemale, BBCJ. Exactly as he expected, his words and deeds made people laugh. Boy. You won't be able to laugh later. Madarame Makaku mistakenly thought that he was being laughed at, and suddenly his lungs exploded. First of all, I'm not a kid. My name is Ling Yun. Ling Yun looked at each other calmly. Secondly, you are too confident. Ling Yun, right? Needless to say nonsense. Today we are destined to live forever. Madarame Makaku held the red tasseled spear in his hand, grinning excitedly. A bald head, a ladyboy. Don't hide well, and ran all the way here to shout. It seems that you were really flustered. Facing Madarame Makaku's stare, Ling Ku deliberately used aggressive methods. Shemale? Who the hell are you calling a shemale? Ayasagawa Yumichika blew up immediately. Although he has always liked smug beauty, he appreciates his own femininity and beauty very much. But apart from Madarame Makaku, he is extremely disgusted by outsiders' evaluation of his appearance. Hence the word, shemale. Like a sharp knife, it pierced directly into his heart, causing Ayasagawa Yumichika to go berserk in an instant. Hey, don't you want to admit it? But how do I feel? You are addicted to being a shemale. Ling Yun stretched and yawned lazily. What the hell? Ayasagawa Yumichika was angry and spoke fluently. If it wasn't for Madarame Makaku grabbing his arm, he would have rushed to fight Ling Yun in no time. Students of the Shenyang Spirit Academy seemed to be quite good at verbal provocation. Although he also felt very uncomfortable, Madarame Makaku was not impulsive and tried his best to control his emotions. Baldhead, are you going to stand up for him? If not, Madarame Makaku swings a spear. If you plan to get back on the stage, I advise you to give up this idea. If there is still time for the king to go, there will be no meeting. Every word of Ling Yun's words is heartbreaking, even if the tone is not deliberately accentuated, it still contains great lethality, easily provoking the other party's emotions. Boy, you are too arrogant, although I have been hinting in my heart. But after hearing Ling Yun's words, the bald head's anger finally broke out. He really can't stand it. I'm angry, then what? Ling Yun deliberately spread his hands and made a, please, action, and then matched it with an expression of indifference. Immediately maximize the effect of the aggressive method. Very good, Ling Yun boy. I must kill you today. Madarame Makaku felt that he was being mocked, and was so angry that his bald head started to smoke. So, Ling Yun remained unmoved. You will pay for those words. Madarame Makaku took a deep breath, and his expression gradually became serious. The atmosphere dropped to freezing point at the same time. Immediately afterwards, facing Ling Yun's vigilant gaze, Madarame Makaku lowered his spear. He rolled up the sleeves on both sides, stretched his muscles and bones, suddenly stretched his neck and tiptoed, twisted his body regularly, and jumped back and forth on the edge of the jungle. Are you actually dancing? Are you sure he didn't come to be funny? Ling Yun's eyelids twitched. His bald dancing figure was reflected in his eyes. In just a few seconds, Ling Yun looked a little skeptical about life. He started to dance awkwardly after a disagreement, and the operation of the bald head directly made him dizzy. Hey, it hasn't been long, the tiptoe dance in the corner is really getting more and more decent. Ayasagawa Yumichika was completely different, he actually watched with relish. The expressions of the two are in stark contrast. Madarame Makaku, this guy. I even danced before the battle. I didn't expect this bad taste to start more than 100 years ago. Ling Yun had a helpless expression. He had to admit it. I was surprised by the so-called tiptoe dance. Madarame Makaku. From this moment on, the nickname of bald head will be changed. Forced to appreciate an awkward dance, Ling Yun muttered helplessly. It should be called Rukongai's #1 dancing king. Chapter 62, The Battle with the Upper Hand. Ling Yun had to admit it. I was surprised by Madarame Makaku's tiptoe dance. This operation is simply outstanding. Enough. Have you danced enough? After being speechless for a while, Ling Yun finally reached the point where he couldn't bear it anymore. A bald dance. Let him want to jump up and smash the dog's head. How about it? My dancing posture is not bad, right? I think I'm a little handsome. After a while, Madarame Makaku boasted shamelessly. Don't you have any points in your heart? Who is interested in watching you dance? Ling Yun said he couldn't bear it. He had never seen such a brazen person. Remember, I'm Madarame Makaku, the man who will beat you strong. As soon as Madarame Makaku changed his inconspicuousness before, not only did his expression immediately become solemn, but his aura also increased steadily, bursting out with a fierce and unparalleled fighting spirit. He holds the red Sakura gun firmly and exudes a fearsome and powerful aura. Considering you, Mao's student status, I will also give the greatest respect. Madarame Makaku held the red tasseled spear in front of his body, pouring all the Reiatsu with all his might. Boom. The clothes on the body are automatic without wind. Madarame Makaku climbed to the top and looked like an undefeated god of war. Are you going to beat me strong? The corners of Ling Yun's mouth turned up in disapproval, and he clenched his fist silently. Although the momentum at the moment is not as strong as Madarame Makaku. However, Ling Yun's eyes were extremely sharp, and there was a calm expression on his face. Immediately afterwards, once again he chose to strike first. Call out. Accompanied by a strong wind, Ling Yun raised his fist, broke out at an extremely fast speed, and rushed towards Madarame Makaku like a phantom. And his fists carried the power to explode everything, bursting out with a surging sense of power. It's like becoming one-punch man. What a speed. Facing Ling Yun's all-out punch, Madarame Makaku's pupils contracted suddenly, and his heart shook violently. Although he is a militant fighting maniac, it does not mean that he is a brainless fool. The induction between the strong is relative. At the moment Ling Yun punched, Madarame Makaku felt it instantly, a palpitation that made his eyelids twitch. Aside from the Kido just now, the current white hits boxing technique alone has such a powerful power. It seems that I seriously underestimated your strength. Madarame Makaku does not retreat but advances. Years of fighting experience in the past made him calm down quickly, bursting out with even crazier fighting spirit. Brush. Madarame Makaku raised the red tasseled spear, laid it calmly in front of him, and made a passive defensive posture. But, the next second is Ling Yun's double bone boxing technique. When, under the eyes of both sides, the fist collided with the Hongyiang spear. With the contact position as the center, violent power surged out, accompanied by a gust of Reiatsu wind, directly blowing away the gravel and stone debris on the ground. Even more exaggerated, on the ground where the two of them were, cracks like spider webs appeared, spreading around at an extremely fast speed. Soon, the ground collapsed and the stones were torn apart. The scene is extremely exaggerated. Am I not mistaken? He was suppressed in one corner. Originally, he still had the expression of watching a play, but after the scene in front of him, Yasugawa Yumashika's expression changed instantly. He stared desperately at his own eyes, and there was a look of horror in his eyes. This punch from Ling Yun directly made him doubt his life. Of course, even some of the bald and transvestite followers in the distance erupted into an uproar. Brother Yijiao was actually suppressed. Who can wake me up? I must be dreaming. With bare hands, there is such a powerful destructive power. This guy is probably a monster. The total number is hundreds, Rukongai's punks. Everyone's expression was astonished, and they were in estrus in a stupefied place. Especially on Ling Yun's face, that expression of ease, and on Madarame Makaku's face, that expression of gritted teeth. The two are in stark contrast. This kind of contrast hits the soul more directly and brings a strong visual shock. But well, as the focus of everyone's attention, after suppressing Madarame Makaku with one punch, Ling Yun didn't feel much ups and downs in his heart. That punch just now was the captain's boxing skill, double bones. Coupled with the extra bonus of talent, its power is self-evident. Asking for flowers. 0. But in this case, it is still just to repel the opponent. Therefore, it is not difficult to see that in terms of close combat, Madarame Makaku's strength can be seen as Madara. Madarame Makaku, I underestimated your strength. Ling Yun put away his fists, with a look of surprise on his brows. You know, after upgrading the white hit skill, there is an additional, instant opening, effect. Although Madarame Makaku was at a disadvantage, he was able to withstand the punch head-on, and his strength was also astonishing to Ling. What? Underestimated? Are you kidding? Are you mocking me on purpose? Madarame Makaku held the red tasseled gun and snorted in extreme displeasure. He mistook Ling Yun for mocking him. It's really hard to be a human these days, even if you praise someone, you will be misunderstood. Ling Yun shrugged helplessly. 000. Cut. Ling Yun, don't think that a sneak attack qualifies you to talk nonsense in front of me. Madarame Makaku's eyes burst out with fierce fighting intent. Boom. The majestic Reiatsu suddenly emanated from the body, the powerful air waves kicked up the dust on the ground, the surrounding trees shook violently and the fallen leaves flew, and even the ground showed tiny cracks. Very nice vibe. The head-on Reiatsu wind blowing up the bangs on both sides of his forehead. Ling Yun narrowed his eyes slightly, and his expression became serious. Have to admit, Madarame Makaku's Reiatsu, both in terms of quality and intensity, is truly commendable. Even more striking is, after releasing the Reiatsu in the body, the red tasseled spear in Madarame Makaku's hand also found some subtle changes. Although it looked ordinary on the surface, the tip of the spear shone with a dazzling scarlet light, vaguely accompanied by a fierce and domineering aura. As the natal weapon of Madarame Makaku, this special red-tasseled gun has already taken a somewhat rudimentary form. That's right, it is the Zanpakuto that the bald man owns, Hozukimaru. More than 100 years ago, this time node. Through wandering and fighting in Rukongai, although Madarame Makaku is just a hero, he is only one step away from the identity of Shinigami. Of course, similar doesn't mean same. Only by getting your own Zanpakuto can you truly transform into a Shinigami. Chapter 63 Intense Battle. The battle is still going on. Swipe. Madarame Makaku gripped the handle of the gun with all his strength, and with the continuous waving of the spear, the fierce and unparalleled wind fluctuated wantonly, and he was as domineering as an undefeated god of war. After readjusting his state, the bald head quickly regained his aura. Ling Yun, you should feel it. The roaring fighting spirit in my body. Madarame Makaku fiercely provoked the red-tasseled spear, and his figure turned into a flash of lightning and rushed forward. After suffering a loss just now, he immediately launched a strong counterattack. Very fast. Although he had already made psychological preparations, Ling Yun couldn't help but be astonished at the moment when Madarame Makaku's figure disappeared. The opponent's speed exceeded his expectations. Of course, the astonishment was only for a moment, and he quickly calmed down. No expression, no movement. Ling Yun still stood calmly at the original, 430, ground, showing no signs of trying to escape. Aren't you going to hide? Ling Yun, should I say you are a tough guy, or just a reckless man? Madarame Makaku's voice sounded without warning. His posture of provoking the tip of the gun is skillful and domineering, and it is accompanied by a sound that can cut the air. Aim straight at Ling Yun's head. Madarame Makaku. I have to admit that your strength is indeed very strong. But in many battles, you don't just rely on brute force to win. Although the situation was imminent, Ling Yun still spoke leisurely. Just at the moment when the tip of the red-tasseled spear was about to touch his head. Thundering chariot, the crack of the spinning wheel, this thing has light, one divides into 6. 61 of Bakuto, the 6-stick light prison. The moment when the chant sounded, more than a dozen blazing and dazzling light sheets appeared out of thin air without warning, trapping Madarame Makaku from all directions. The sudden scene immediately made the audience exclaim. This is the 6-stick light prison that sings completely. Yasugawa Yumashika, who was watching from the sidelines, showed a dignified expression again. Although he has been in Rukongai, he is no stranger to Shinigami's Bakuto. And the appearance of the 6-stick light prison directly subverted his concept. An ordinary student of Junyang Ling Yun Academy. He actually mastered the high-level Bakuto. And the power is still so amazing. Yasugawa Yumashika for a time, it is unbearable. Madarame Makaku. The tip of the spear that was dancing stopped just when it was less than 1 meter away from Ling Yun. Ignoring the sharp spear point in front of him, Ling Yun raised a smile. As I said just now, sometimes in a battle, brute force and momentum alone may not necessarily win. HMPH. I'm just a brat, it's not your turn to preach to me. Madarame Makaku gritted his teeth. Facing the upgraded 6-stick light prison, he was helpless for a while, and he hadn't even fully reacted yet. Even a fully chanted Bakuto. But why is the shape and scale so different? Not only Madarame Makaku, but also Yasugawa Yumashika, and hundreds of other younger brothers. One by one was suddenly full of doubts. Madarame Makaku, why don't you stop this battle? Anyway, you are powerless. Ling Yun stood calmly on the spot, looked at the other party and said with a smile. Looking at the bald head in a panic, I felt an indescribable joy. Stop talking so shamelessly. Madarame Makaku's face turned red. He is like a crazy beast, trying his best to burst out with strength. The Reiatsu surging in the body, like a storm, spread outward continuously. Click, click, click. There was a crisp cracking sound. It was beyond Ling Yun's expectations. Under the impact of Reiatsu, tiny cracks appeared on the surface of the 6 light prisons. Relying on willpower and the powerful Reiatsu in his body, he forcibly broke the shackles of the 6-stick light prison. Sure enough, we can't underestimate you. Ling Yun couldn't help breaking into a cold sweat. In the scene before him, he had to admit that he once again underestimated the power of the bald head. This moment, Ling Yun finally understood one thing. Later Madarame Makaku, although only the 3rd member of the battle team, had the strength of an ordinary captain. So it was so powerful 100 years ago. Even Hiyori and the others should not be bald opponents in a one-on-one battle. Ling Yun quickly made a judgment. However, contrary to the other party's expectations, he took the initiative to release the 6-stick light prison. Originally, he planned to subdue the bald head, but after witnessing the opponent's tenacious fighting spirit, Ling Yun changed his mind in an instant. It is rare to meet such an opponent. He must enjoy fighting as much as possible. Ling Yun, it seems that your Bakuto hasn't practiced well yet, and it's my turn to make a move. Madarame Makaku mistakenly thought that it was his own Reiatsu, which shattered the 6-stick light prison. He roared angrily and waved his arms, raised the red-tasseled gun with his whole body, and jumped forward again. The tip of the gun flickered, and the cold light was overwhelming. The red tasseled gun is dotted with the Reiatsu cyclone, taking advantage of the situation to stab Ling Yun in the back. Shiny. Ling Yun lifted the sealed state neatly, turned around and waved his backhand in front of him, intercepting the red tasseled spear in midair, easily diffusing the attack. What a powerful slash. The energy transmitted through the top of the blade. Madarame Makaku's expression suddenly changed dramatically. In the past years, he had fought many opponents, but he rarely showed this expression. The sealed state in Ling Yun's hands, although it looks ordinary. But for some reason, there are many completely different abilities emanating from inside, making it difficult for the bald head to adapt for a while. Lightning, fire, flowing water, flying sand, etc. The perfect fusion of attributes forms a delicate balance, which greatly enhances the power of slashing. Immediately let Madarame Makaku look sideways. Wow. As predicted, without any suspense, Madarame Makaku was blown away again. Madarame Makaku, do you understand now? Who is the one who is beyond his control? Ling Yun put the sealed state on his side and quickly occupied the momentum of the entire 5.3 field. TCH, don't think that once you succeed, you have the right to be arrogant in front of me. Madarame Makaku's pupils shrank suddenly. He considered himself one of the few outstanding fighters in northern Rukongai, so his dignity would never allow him to back down. The battle is never over until the last drop of blood is shed. This is his Bushido. Forget about white hits, and for Kido, even the slash is so powerful. Ayasagawa Yumashika, who was on the outside of the battle circle, stared at Ling Yun with a solemn expression. Through this confrontation, although he didn't want to admit it, he had to look at Ling Yun with admiration. Ling Yun, who has an immature face, has shown a strong combat power as a student of Junyang. This absolute strength led Ayasagawa Yumashika have to be convinced. Chapter 64 Sudden Change in Painting Style. After another round of confrontation, the situation of the scene became clear. Even with all his strength and fighting spirit, Madarame Makaku is still at a disadvantage. Everyone present is well aware of this. One corner, work hard to defeat him. We must not let him step on our heads. Ayasagawa Yumashika silently clenched his fists and kept cheering from the sidelines. If even the bald head is defeated, then all of them will suffer. My friend, there is no need for you to remind me of such an obvious thing. Madarame Makaku picked up the spear again, without any discouragement. Never admit defeat, never give up. In the face of any battle, unless the last drop of blood is shed, you will not fall easily. This is the belief that Baldhead has carried out for many years. Madarame Makaku, if there is no stronger means, then this battle will come to an end. Ling Yun calmly raised the sealed state. Probably testing out the opponent's strength, he intends to end the battle directly. 11 Ling Yun, you are too confident, right? Lousy as Madarame Makaku. Madarame Makaku raised the red tasseled spear again, and stabbed at Ling Yun with all his strength. It's useless, I've seen through the same offensive a long time ago. Ling Yun shook his head. Boom. As his expression became serious, a strong Reiatsu rose from the ground. Ling Yun's Reiatsu spread suddenly like a wave, and immediately set off bursts of dust on the surrounding ground, and the air made a piercing buzzing sound due to the riot of Ling Yun. His whole body is wrapped in blue Reiatsu, and his eyes are fixed on Madarame Makaku opposite. What are you planning to do? Madarame Makaku frowned, feeling uneasy. His intuition told him, things went wrong. As predicted. Hado chant came from Ling Yun's mouth. Hado 73, double lotus Kengwo pendant. As the Bakudo chant falls, on the palms of Ling Yun's hands, a ball of fire appeared on each of them, the surrounding temperature was instantly pushed up, and the dry air made all the water evaporate instantly. Number 73 Hado, you actually know the Shuanglian Kengwo pendant. The burning and swaying flames were reflected in the dark eyes, and Madarame Makaku's face showed a shocked expression. It never occurred to him that in addition to the 6-stick light prison, Ling Yun also mastered the Shuanglian Kengwo pendant. Kido one after another, let him feel unexpected. A corner, be careful. Just when Madarame Makaku was in a daze, Ayasagawa Yumashika's voice came from behind. Damn it, is this guy a monster? Why does he have so many Shinigamis Kido? When Madarame Makaku came to his senses, it was too late. No matter how quick his reaction was, the Shuanglian Kengwo pendant struck, and it was too late to avoid it. Finally, meet everyone's eyes. Boom. The huge pillar of flame exploded, turning into a terrifying sea of flames. The turbulent heat wave spread rapidly like a tsunami, quickly covering the ground in the nearby area. The sand covering it was burned violently by the flames, giving off a pungent and unpleasant smell of burnt black. The upgraded Shuanglian Kengwo pendant showed terrifying power. How can this guy be so strong? Staring fixedly at Ling Yun, Ayasagawa Yumashika's eyes flickered. Surrounded by the flames, Madarame Makaku's life and death are now uncertain, and Ling Yun's momentum is like a rainbow, he has no confidence at all. Just in case. Glancing at the sea of fire from the corner of the eye, he considered it carefully for a moment. Ayasagawa Yumashika gritted her teeth and prepared for the worst. Once Madarame Makaku falls, even if you are not sure, you must shoot. Shemale, Madarame Makaku has fallen, and it's your turn now. Ling Yun raised the sealed state in his hand, and pointed the tip of the sword at Ayasagawa Yumashika. Don't get carried away, corner, you won't fall down so easily. Ayasagawa Yumashika growled sullenly. My dear, don't be impulsive, I'm still alive. The next moment, Madarame Makaku's voice suddenly came from the fire. One corner is still alive. I knew you would not fall so easily. Madarame Makaku's voice, like a life-saving straw, instantly made the demon ecstatic. Hey, didn't you fall down? It seems that I underestimated your tenacity. Ling Yun raised his eyebrows in surprise. Even if you give up singing, the power of the Shuanglian Kangwo pendant is still much stronger than before. After all, after the skill reaches the full level, Kido's destructive power and form have undergone significant changes. It can be seen how tenacious Madarame Makaku is. Swipe swipe. With the sound of a gust of wind, there were flames all over the place. Madarame Makaku, holding a red tasseled spear in his hand, pushed aside the surrounding flames and appeared within Ling Yun's line of sight. After being attacked by the flames, the bald head became embarrassed, the clothes on his body became black and broken, and many bloodstains appeared on his arms. He looked as though he might fall over at any moment. I don't know how many years, and I haven't tried such a serious injury. Madarame Makaku's breath was sluggish, and he even became very reluctant to speak. He didn't fall into a coma because of his will, which was different from ordinary people. Ling Yun, I was almost killed by you. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Madarame Makaku wiped away the blood from the wound, and the corner of his mouth curled up in excitement. 060 When you meet the strong, you will be strong, and the more you fight, the braver you are. Madarame Makaku is passionate about fighting and is a complete fighting fanatic, even treating fighting as a game. For a long time in the past, even after fighting all over the neighborhood, Madarame Makaku still hadn't found a powerful opponent that he could really admire. Over time, he also came up with an idea: go to the Zaraki area. Naturally, Madarame Makaku hadn't heard of the rumors about the Zaraki district. And the man with the immortality is the goal he has always wanted to challenge. It's just that he didn't expect that before the goal was achieved, he suddenly encountered Ling Yun. You're not bad, you still look like you're fighting with such a serious injury. Ling Yun praised sincerely. Tisk tisk tisk, I don't need to say compliments. Before I go to the Zaraki area, I will never fall down easily. Madarame Makaku burst out with fighting spirit. Wait, Ling Yun's expression changed slightly, are you planning to go to the Moor district? As if meeting a big surprise, Ling Yun became violently ups and downs. What, you still want to interfere with my actions? You are too lenient. Madarame Makaku frowned displeased. If you want to go to the Zaraki area too. What Ling Yun said next. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle. Maybe you can change your mind. Chapter 65 An alternative way to forge friendships. What? After hearing Ling Yun's words, Madarame Makaku froze for a moment. His eyes began to become complicated. Ling Yun, don't forcefully change the subject, let's continue the hearty battle. After silently pondering for a moment, Madarame Makaku picked up the red tasseled spear in his hand. He chose to ignore Ling Yun's words. Madarame Makaku, I have a suggestion that I think you will be interested in. Ling Yun said suddenly. Huh, what are you going to say? Madarame Makaku stared at Ling Yun with a defensive attitude. From the moment he set off, the only thing he was looking forward to was a happy fight. It's very simple, you plan to go to Zaraki district, right? Actually, I also plan to go to Zaraki district. Ling Yun snapped his fingers, and the corner of his mouth curled up in an arc. Are you planning to go to the Zaraki district too? Madarame Makaku's brow deepened. One corner. Be careful, don't be confused by him. Ayasagawa Yumashika reminded from the side, Zaraki district is not a place to step into casually. However, contrary to the expectations of the ladyboy, after a brief hesitation, Madarame Makaku made a choice. He put down his red tasseled gun, and stared at Ling Yun intently with serious eyes. Ling Yun, I want to ask you, why are you planning to go to Zaraki district? Madarame Makaku asked with a serious face as if to verify something. Zaraki Kenpachi. Although I have been living in Jingling, I have heard of this infamous name more than once, which is why I came to Bay Rukongai. Ling Yun quickly responded. Sure enough, it's coming for that monster. Ling Yun's words, like a thunderbolt, instantly blasted into the bald head's heart. There was another moment of silence. Madarame Makaku's brows finally opened, and he showed a rare smile. I see, I understand, it seems that we have the same idea. A corner. Are you planning to? Ayasagawa Yumashika has a premonition. Sure enough, just as he expected, Madarame Makaku took the initiative to send out an invitation. Ling Yun, look at this, why don't you give me face, and this battle will end here. What? You actually took the initiative to compromise. Is this still the boss we know? Hundreds of younger brothers were in an uproar. Without exception, they have followed Zhao Zhao for many years, and they have known the basics for a long time. Never bow your head, never compromise, and fight to the end. These are the labels attached to Madarame Makaku, and he has been showing himself as a tough guy for so many years. But the scene that happened in front of him completely overturned the impression of many years. Madarame Makaku flinched for the first time. Ling Yun, what do you think of my proposal? Madarame Makaku looked at Ling Yun expectantly. In the chaotic Rukongai, you can meet a strong man who is sympathetic and has the same goal. This in itself is a difficult thing to do. Madarame Makaku is very fortunate that now that something like this has happened, he naturally hopes to seize the opportunity. After all, in many rumors, the big devil in the Zaraki district possessed unparalleled power, and his hands were stained with the blood of countless people. Without the company of a strong companion, if you rush to the Zaraki area, you can only risk your own life in vain. This is why Madarame Makaku has not left. Bald. Since we have the same goal, why don't we go together and go to a larger area together? Ling Yun also showed a bright smile and agreed to Madarame Makaku's invitation. Great. Sure enough, I saw the right person. Madarame Makaku froze for a moment, then became ecstatic. Ling Yun, after all, if you don't fight, you don't know each other. For the sake of saving face, let's cancel the gap between us. Madarame Makaku took the initiative to give a step. And many more. Ayasagawa Yumashika hastily stopped. One corner. Don't make impulsive decisions, have you really thought about it? We suffered a big loss just now. Ayasagawa Yumashika discouraged with an anxious expression. Now this ending is not the result he hoped for. Dear Gong, you should be very clear about the current situation. If Ling Yun is really determined to kill, we don't have any power to fight back. Madarame Makaku turned around and said with a serious face. But, Ayasagawa Yumashika was not reconciled. Ling Yun's sarcasm just now has always made him brood. Especially the word, shemale, is more like a needle in the heart. Feather man, you really don't have any points. Since you don't want to, then I can play with you. Ling Yun threatened deliberately. What feather man? You are the feather man. Ayasagawa Yumashika's lungs exploded suddenly. Enough, Yumi-ki, control your emotions, this misunderstanding will stop here. Madarame Makaku waved his hand. Although it was only a one-time relationship, they have experienced the fight just now. There is a feeling of sympathy between him and Ling Yun, and naturally he doesn't want things to continue to deteriorate. All right. Ayasagawa Yumashika originally wanted to say something else. But seeing Madarame Makaku's face, he wisely chose to shut up, and could only swallow his anger helplessly. Ling Yun, it's too remote here, why don't you go to our site and chat for a while? Madarame Makaku became enthusiastic after changing his previous hostile attitude. Well, I just came to this neighborhood and I'm not familiar with the place. It would be great to have you as a guide. Ling Yun agreed without hesitation. Ever since, the two parties that originally broke out in conflict, because of the Zaraki district, chose to give in to each other. In an unusual way, a new friendship was formed. Soon after. The southeast location of the block, a remote location. Looking around, several houses stand side by side. Although the outside looks dilapidated, compared with other houses, the environment here is not bad. These houses are surrounded by a huge courtyard, where a lot of vegetation can be seen everywhere, as well as some fields full of rice. This place is the place of Madarame Makaku. In the central room, Ling Yun, Madarame Makaku, Ayasagawa Yumashika and others gathered around a square table, each with a cup of hot tea in front of them. The tea is fragrant and steaming hot. Unlike the previous confrontational scene, the atmosphere at this time is exceptionally harmonious. Madarame Makaku, with such a territory, it seems that you are more nourished than I expected. Ling Yun expressed his thoughts sincerely. After all, we have come all the way. Scene, met, it's all a dilapidated scene. But Madarame Makaku's territory really caught his eye. Chapter 66 The Big Devil in the Zaraki District. The interior of the house. The tea is fragrant and steaming. Ling Yun and Madarame Makaku quickly became acquainted. Ling Yun, it turns out that you are from the Shihouin family. No wonder you have such outstanding talent. After talking for a while, Madarame Makaku suddenly realized the identity of Ling Yun. To be honest, there is not much connection between talent and status. Ling Yun took a sip of hot tea calmly, her mood did not fluctuate too much. Yes, I've heard of it too. Madarame Makaku nodded in agreement, and then made a statement, the Shinigami of Gote 13, a large part of them, originally came from Rukongai. The more they chatted, the more they got on the right track, and they almost hit it off. On the other hand, Ayasagawa Yumashika was inexplicably jealous. One corner, how do I feel, he seems a little unhappy. Ling Yun glanced at the silent Ayasagawa Yumashika. Don't worry about it, Yuki's character is like this. After a while, everyone will get to know him better, and he will gradually let go. Let's discuss the topic. Madarame Makaku chuckled heartily. When he thought of the things to be discussed next, he felt as if he had been injected with chicken blood, and his blood boiled all over his body. Zaraki Kenpachi. I suppose you've heard of that name? Ling Yun picked up the teacup in front of him, and 480 took a sip of hot tea slowly. The villain in the Zaraki area has killed countless wrestlers. It is said that even the Shinigami of Gote 13 dare not set foot in the Zaraki area. Madarame Makaku responded with a serious expression. However, as far as I know, this doesn't seem to be his original destiny, and, Kenpachi. should be a special title in Gode 13, which belongs to the combat squad, right? It was beyond Ling Yun's expectations. Madarame Makaku knew the truth far more than he expected. Apparently during these years of Rukongai, Madarame Makaku kept collecting all kinds of gossip while fighting, and learned some secrets about Shinigami. That's right, the title of Kenpachi is only qualified to be called by the captain of the combat team. He means the strongest fighter in Jingling court. Ling Yun briefly explained the origin of the title, Kenpachi. Calling myself Kenpachi. I have to admit that monster is indeed terrifying, Madarame Makaku said solemnly. Over the years, the legend of Zaraki the Great Evil has long been widely circulated in northern Rukongai. The great demon king of Zaraki district, the legend about him has intensified in recent years, and it seems that there is a trend of demonization. Over time, even Madarame Makaku can't help trembling every time he mentions it. That's right, monster is the best way to describe him. Zaraki Kenpachi is not only a fighting lunatic, but also a beast that will never fall. Ling Yun's expression was also full of fear. In his mind, Kenpachi is unstoppable. Even the Shinigami of Gode 13 will be attacked by Zaraki Kenpachi once they easily step into the Zaraki area. After all, Hanaretsu, who was still first-generation Kenpachi, a long time ago, was attacked by Kenpachi when he stepped into the Zaraki district that year. It is enough to prove how strong he is, a beastly monster. Madarame Makaku's eyes flickered. His character is fierce and aggressive. Although he is not as crazy as Kenpachi, he is also an out-and-out combat madman. Facing a formidable enemy who bears the title of the strongest, Madarame Makaku instantly became motivated. Ling Yun, since you plan to go to the Zaraki district, do you have any plans for the next step? Plan? Ling Yun shook his head silently, and said bluntly, actually, I didn't think about it that much, everything will just go with the flow. What? Madarame Makaku expressed surprise. Yizhou, in fact, you should also be very clear that any conspiracy strategy will not work in front of that man, so there is no need to think about it so much, Ling Yun responded bluntly. So, are you going to confront him directly? Madarame Makaku's pupils, BBCF, shrank suddenly, and his inner evaluation of Ling Yun silently rose to a higher level. It's not me, but us. As long as we join forces, even if we fail, we must try again. Ling Yun nodded noncommittally. There is actually not much left in the 1-month period. Not long ago, Ling Yun was still complaining that it was almost a needle in a haystack to meet special plot characters in the vast northern Rukongai. But as soon as the front heel was finished, the goddess of luck followed. Although there were some conflicts, but in the end, they did not know each other, and they successfully forged friendship with the bald head and the ladyboy. Under such a premise, Ling Yun is more determined to go to the Zaraki area. I understand. Shin Gong and I will think about it carefully. Madarame Makaku nodded thoughtfully. In fact, he knew very well that if he really went to the Zaraki area together, he had to prepare for the worst. Once something unexpected happens, it is a choice made by oneself. Is one day enough? Ling Yun looked at the two and said with a light smile, tomorrow morning, I will wait at the intersection, hoping to see the two of you. The confident words are like a booster, which greatly enhances confidence. Madarame Makaku, Ayasagawa Yumichika, after hearing Ling Yun's words, the remaining hesitation disappeared. They agreed to Ling Yun's proposal. On the other side, the Zaraki district. If the number 76 block still retains the appearance of the street, and there is still a certain amount of traffic, then there is no orderly street in Jiangsu district. Countless broken walls and ruins spread all over this barren and dilapidated land without any rules. Water is scarce, plants are scarce, and waste piles up in mountains. Compared with the previous 79 blocks, Zaraki district is more like a hell. Without humanity, without rules, only power can dominate everything. It is no exaggeration to say that looking at the entire Rukongai, a total of more than 300 blocks, it is almost impossible to find a place that is more cruel and harsh than this place. Of course. Under such a premise, those who can gain a firm foothold in the Zaraki area. Without exception, they all live in legends, indifferent, cold-blooded, notorious. These are the labels that are put on the wicked, and on this day. The Zaraki district welcomes 3 unexpected guests. Ling Yun, Madarame Makaku, Ayasagawa Yumichika. After walking through several blocks, the 3 of them finally arrived at their destination. Zaraki district. Chapter 67 The Violent Zaraki Kenpachi. 3 days later, after walking through several blocks, the 3 of them finally arrived at their destination. The legendary Zaraki district. I thought block 76 was already remote and desolate enough. This place really opened my eyes. Looking at the dilapidated scene in front of me, Ayasagawa Yuki expressed shock. The lower the serial number, the worse the law and order environment, not to mention that this is Zaraki district. Ling Yun took the words. Dear Gong, cheer me up later. Anyone who jumps out here at random may pose a threat to us, and we must not take it lightly, Madarame Makaku exhorted solemnly. No matter how confident he was in the past, he had to remain vigilant when he came to the dangerous Zaraki area. Any disturbance here will affect his nerves, making the bald head in a state of high concentration. Sure enough, it's almost as expected, and there are almost no other figures. Ling Yun used Ryatsu's perception, carefully sensed it, and quickly came to a conclusion. At least within a few hundred meters, he didn't sense any aura. Apparently, all the refugees in the Zaraki district have gone into hiding. Madarame Makaku cast a questioning look at Ling Yun. Ling Yun, what should we do next? Looking aimlessly, it is easy to become the target of public criticism. Let's try to hide our breath. It is also the first time to come to Zaraki area, so Ling Yun doesn't have much advice. The only thing he could think of was to hide his aura to prevent being targeted by other refugees. As for other things, Nikki can only rely on luck. At the same time, in the deepest part of the Zaraki district, a place where no one has just set foot all year round, a blood-stained refugee half kneeled on the ground tremblingly, his face full of despair. On the ground around him, there were dead bodies all over the place, and the air was filled with a bloody smell, obviously just experienced a massacre. No, don't kill me, a trembling voice came from his mouth. With pleading eyes, the refugee looked at the 2-meter-high figure in front of him, exuding a fierce aura. A piece of rubbish like you is planning to challenge me? You can't even pass the time. A judgment-like voice sounded. Anyone can clearly hear the ridicule and disdain in it. However, facing the ridicule that trampled on his dignity, the refugee could only nod in horror. This behavior of abandoning dignity is only to seek a glimmer of hope for life. And at this time, a childlike figure sprang out from nowhere, passed over the refugee's head, and stood firmly on his shoulder. Small sword. I think it's better to let him go. There are no people in the Zaraki area, and a large number just fell down. If this continues, I'm afraid it will become extinct. That childlike figure made a heavenly sound. It formed an extremely sharp contrast with the bloody scenes around. Bachenliu, this kind of rubbish, what's the value of living? I have no interest in the weak, the disdainful voice sounded again. The original figure standing in the shadows exuding a fierce aura gradually revealed his true face. This devilish man has a ferocious face. He has a prominent scar on the left side of his face. Although he has a head of thick black long hair, it is tied into a small bundle, which looks like a bunch of barbs. Even more frightening, he didn't see any movement, he just stood still, but exuded a suffocating terror, even the air was affected. There was a burst of wailing. This is beyond the ordinary, the horror of Captain Shinigami, Ryatsu, will appear in a refugee. It is simply an astonishing thing, this ghostly man was born to fight. He regards fighting as everything, even ignoring all identities and status, only fighting as the source of happiness. Originally unknown, but because he was born in the Zaraki area, he changed his surname to Zaraki, and because he had heard that the most powerful warrior of the Soul Society was called Kenpachi. So he named himself Zaraki Kenpachi. Xiaojian, that's not what you said. The little girl jumped back to Zaraki Kenpachi. Kenpachi, look at him, he's already frightened. This little girl who is in company with evil spirits. Ask for flowers. She has pink shoulder-length short hair, a pair of clear and bright eyes, and obvious blush on both sides of her cheeks, looking like a cute porcelain doll. An abandoned little girl in the Grass Deer district is actually Zanpakuto of Zaraki Kenpachi, Kusajishi Yachiru. One is a blood-stained evil ghost, and the other is a cute girl. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would associate Zaraki Kenpachi with Yachiru anyway. But that's exactly what happened. Yachinryu and Zaraki Kenpachi have depended on each other many years ago, which is well known in the Zaraki area. Please let me go, I really don't want to die. Influenced by Zaraki Kenpachi Ryatsu, the refugee kneeling on the ground seemed to be put on an invisible shackle. He was not only dizzy, but also had difficulty breathing, and even had a feeling of suffocation. At this moment, his heart was full of remorse. If he hadn't been forced into desperation, in order to compete for supplies and water sources, he would not rashly trigger conflicts, which eventually led to the massacre of all his companions. Trash like you should hide and survive instead of coming here to waste my time. Zaraki Kenpachi carried a notched Zanpakuto on his shoulders. He stood up and walked towards the refugee, and every time he took a step, the other's spine bent more. After a few seconds, when Zaraki Kenpachi came in front of him, the refugee collapsed into a coma because he couldn't bear the oppression. What? Looking at the vagrant who fell to the ground, Yachinryu laughed coolly and said, Xiaojian, you seem to have scared him faintly, now there will be no outsiders. Zaraki Kenpachi stopped and said indifferently, Yachinryu, how do you deal with him? Kill him? No, I've already said it, why don't you just let her go? Kusajishi Yachiru looked melancholy, as if caught in a difficult choice. This kind of garbage, even if I let him go, other people in Zaraki district will kill him, why don't I let him have a good time? Zaraki Kenpachi's face was grim. There was a ferocious smile on the corner of his mouth, he looked like Shira Zhang from hell. Chapter 68 I am here to fight with you, 8,000 streams. This kind of rubbish, even if I let him go, other people in Zaraki district will kill him, why don't I let him have a good time? 11. Zaraki Kenpachi was ferocious like a ghost, with a sinister smile on his lips. At this moment, an indescribably terrifying murderous aura erupted from his body like a volcano. Whoa! Originally fell into a deep coma, but was continuously attacked by evil spirits. The homeless man opened his eyes in horror. He wailed in pain, and then he was deprived of the right to speak. His throat seemed to be clasped by an invisible hand. The feeling of pain made people desperate. If time could be turned back, he swore that he would never step into the Zaraki area again. It's a pity that there is no turning back after the start of work. From the moment he met Zaraki Kenpachi, the fate of this refugee was doomed to 540. Death will be his only destination. The weak, without any qualifications, live in this world, let alone the Zaraki district. Zaraki Kenpachi raised Zanpakutō and mercilessly chopped down. Without any fancy skills, it is purely an extremely ordinary sword, but it contains outrageous power. If Shinigami of Gode 13 was present, he would definitely show a shocked and terrified expression because of Zaraki Kenpachi's slash. The power of this slash, even a captain-level Shinigami may not be able to do it. Zaraki Kenpachi, you're an out-and-out monster. Seeing the sharp blade gradually enlarged in his field of vision, the refugee closed his eyes in despair. In this short moment, he has no choice but to wait for death. Finally, accompanied by blossoming blood flowers, the only living refugee fell down with the sound of the blade and died desperately in a pool of blood. Together with his partner, there were a total of hundreds of giant corpses scattered on the ground in a disorderly manner. The bloody scene once made people's scalps go numb. Small sword. It's not easy for someone to chat with you. If you don't leave them alone, you'll kill them all. Yachinryu stood on his shoulders, looking swollen. Zaraki Kenpachi put Zanpakuto away, with a disinterested expression on his face. Chatting? If you have so much free time to chat, it's better to go back and sleep late. It seems to make sense. Yachinryu tilted his head, revealing his dimples, looking very cute. Let's go, there's no point in staying here anymore. Zaraki Kenpachi was about to turn around and leave. He had just walked a few steps when he suddenly stopped. Immediately after that ferocious face, a hesitant expression appeared, as if he had sensed something. Yachinryu, have you sensed it? That hesitation gradually brewed, and then turned into ecstasy. Ryotsu. It's 3 other distinct strands of Ryotsu. Zaraki Kenpachi grinned excitedly, and his originally listless expression changed in an instant as if revived. Finally a Ryotsu that satisfies me. He unscrupulously releases his Ryotsu. At that moment just now, with his innate powerful perception, Zaraki Kenpachi sensed 3 obscure Ryotsu at the entrance of Zaraki district. Although the feeling was fleeting, it still roused Kenpachi's fighting spirit. Ever since, Zaraki Kenpachi temporarily changed his mind. Instead of going back to his residence to take a nap, he wanted to find the owner of the 3 strands of Ryotsu. Then have a hearty fight. Hey, it's really rare that Xiaojian is so happy. Because of Zaraki Kenpachi, a smile appeared on Yachinryu's small face. She is happy for the other party from the bottom of her heart. Xiaojian, are you going to search for prey? Yachinryu stood on the Zaraki Kenpachi, curiously looking forward to the direction in the distance. Compared to the garbage just now, Ryotsu who appeared at the entrance of the Zaraki area is the opponent I really want to meet. Zaraki Kenpachi grinned excitedly. The notched Zanpakuto in his hand trembled violently from excitement. Zaraki Kenpachi was full of fighting spirit, and his figure disappeared instantly. At the same time, the location of the entrance to the Zaraki district. Absolutely nothing wrong. The violent Ryotsu just now must be Zaraki Kenpachi. Although there is a long distance between each other, Ling Yun can still identify each other's identity through his keen Ryotsu perception. Ryotsu of Zaraki Kenpachi. It is similar to the Menos Grande he met in the field training before, and they all have a rage that is different from ordinary Shinigami. The only difference is that Zaraki Kenpachi's Ryotsu is scarier. Yijiao, Gongqin, get ready to fight. It seems that we have been targeted. Ling Yun rarely showed a dignified expression. Joke. Knowing that the opponent is the berserk Zaraki Kenpachi. Even the Shinigami of Gode 13 must be on guard. That monster-like man is not easy to reason with. No wonder the Zaraki area is sparsely populated. Living in such an environment all year round, the heart will not feel good after a long time. Ayasagawa Yumachika looked around vigilantly. In an unknown and unfamiliar environment, he was secretly targeted by a monster. This feeling is really not good. He's coming our way. Ling Yun could clearly sense that an extremely ferocious aura was approaching extremely quickly in the southeast direction. The arrival of Zaraki Kenpachi is only a matter of time. Finally, as the 3 of them waited anxiously, that ghostly figure appeared at the end of their sight. A ferocious face like a ghost, long hair in bundles like barbs, and a slender Zanpakuto full of gaps. Through these iconic features, Ling Yun immediately recognized the other party's identity. Just as he sensed, the person who intercepted them was none other than Zaraki District's Great Demon King, Zaraki Kenpachi. 4.6. Is this guy the one who ruled the entire Zaraki District and lived in rumors? Madarame Mikaku's big bald head is covered with fine sea beads. Just meeting for the first time, he sensed an unprecedented terrifying evil spirit in the other party. The evil spirit that is almost condensed into substance can only be formed through a lot of fighting or under the condition of being bathed in blood all year round. Apparently, the ferocious-looking man in front of him has long regarded fighting as a kind of fun. It's such a scary look, he seems to be very excited. Stared head-on by Zaraki Kenpachi, Ayasagawa Yumachika struggled to speak. He has a feeling of facing the gate of hell. Just then, Zaraki Kenpachi finally spoke up. My name is Zaraki Kenpachi. I'm here to fight you. Chapter 69 Ling Yun vs Zaraki Kenpachi. My name is Zaraki Kenpachi. I'm here to fight the three of you. Zaraki Kenpachi held Zanpakutō on his shoulders and stared at the three of Ling Yun with burning eyes. He could feel a long-awaited resonance from the three in front of him. That's right. That is a special resonance that can only be produced when meeting a decent opponent. This feeling can't be described in words. It seems to be the sound of nature that people yearn for, and it seems to be an exciting rhythm, awakening the dormant fighting spirit in the body. This is what Zaraki Kenpachi feels like. Zaraki Kenpachi. Ling Yun also looked directly at each other. The appearance of Zaraki Kenpachi, although it brought deterrence, also brought surprises. Such a great demon king has dominated the Zaraki area for many years and beheaded countless heroes. He has only existed in various rumors. Now that it finally appeared in front of me, this feeling is also very subtle. Above the Zaraki district, under the blue sky, the figure of Zaraki Kenpachi was blocked in front of Ling Yun and others like a gate of hell. If you want to move on, you must defeat Zaraki Kenpachi and win the final contest of this fight. Obviously, such a result is not easy to cause. It should be considered an honor to be targeted by a monster like U11? Madarame Makaku smiled helplessly. Hearing rumors is one thing, seeing it with one's own eyes is another. Facing Zaraki Kenpachi directly, Madarame Makaku realized how big the gap between himself and the other party was. The aura alone makes a world of difference. Beside him, Ayasagawa Yumachika was silent and quietly took out his weapon. The bald head and the ladyboy all tensed up by coincidence, not daring to be careless at all, and were always on guard against Zaraki Kenpachi's offensive. On the contrary, Ling Yun was calmer. He looked at Zaraki Kenpachi calmly, feeling the unique aura of this monster. In Soul Society, this soul-themed world, strictly speaking, there is no absolute strong, only absolute weak. Only by maintaining a passionate heart to fight can we survive in the cruel environment. And Zaraki Kenpachi, he is the only one who can do it. No words, just staring at each other. The area became deadly silent. A surge of blood and fighting spirit quietly filled the air, as if this battle was about to break out. Zaraki Kenpachi, before the fight, can you give me a reason to fight? While speaking, Ling Yun took out the sealed state from his waistband. Zaraki Kenpachi was carrying Zanpakuto, with a ferocious smile on his face. There's no reason. I just feel that you guys are more resistant to hacking. Is this reason enough? Damn. What kind of bullshit reason is this? Madarame Makaku was suddenly annoyed. What is more resistant to chopping? Do you think they are just here to give away heads? This is too condescending. I finally understand why people have always referred to the Zaraki area as a forbidden area. Ling Yun's eyes gradually became fierce, and Ryotsu radiated from his body. Boom. There are only Ryotsus of the ordinary officer level, but because of the fusion of multiple attributes, a Ryotsu storm has been set off, and at the same time it has caused waves of wailing in the air. What? This Ryotsu? You really didn't disappoint me. Feeling the intensity of Ling Yun's Ryotsu, Zaraki Kenpachi's smile deepened immediately. His emotions became more excited, as if he was about to lose control at any time. Bang! Zaraki Kenpachi responded quickly. A golden Ryotsu that was enough to shatter the clouds turned into a majestic Ryotsu beam of light, which burst out from his body suddenly, directly dispersing the clouds in midair. Not only the Zaraki district, but even the Kaolu district beside it was also affected by this Ryotsu. The refugees within 2 blocks hid in fear, not daring to go out of the gate for fear of being implicated innocently. And this battlefield, only a few people present are qualified to set foot on it. Hi, what's your name? Zaraki Kenpachi didn't strike right away. Although his character is impulsive, he has always advocated fair fighting. Asking Ling Yun's name before the fight is simply giving due respect to the opponent. Shihouin Ling Yun. Ling Yun answered naturally. Facing the legendary monster, he still didn't flinch in the slightest. Ling Yun. Then you remember, the person who will be killed is me, Zaraki Kenpachi. Zaraki Kenpachi bared his teeth, and his stalwart body exploded with enormous energy in an instant. Obviously he can't wait to make a move, but at this moment, Yachenliu, who had been standing on his shoulders, lightly jumped to the roof beside him, ready to watch a fierce battle. Come on, little sword, don't get cut down. Yachenliu rested his chin with his hands, and played 2 cute dimples on his scary little face. It is precisely because of her existence that it is rare to have a trace of warmth in the originally depressing atmosphere. Yizhao, Gongqin, step aside first, Ling Yun said decisively. Clear. The bald head and the shemale acted immediately. Facing Zaraki Kenpachi, an opponent of this level, they dare not neglect at all. Immediately afterwards, Hado chant came from Ling Yun's mouth. O King's Lander. The mask of flesh and blood, the vicissitudes, the fluttering wings, the one who is crowned with the name of man. Carve the double lotus on the wall of the blue fire, and wait for the abyss of fire in the distant sky. Hado's 73, Double Lotus Konghuo Pendant. The majestic 097 Ryotsu of the ordinary officer level, and the additional bonus of Hado's talent, the two groups exuded hot and high-temperature explosions, and they were condensed and formed in Ling Yun's hands in an instant. Immediately push the temperature of the air to the boiling point. After fully singing Hado, the power is several times stronger than before. The eyes reflected two shining fireballs. Madarame Mikaku's eyes were full of fear. The aura of the Shuanglen Konghuo pendant made him feel a deadly threat. At the same time, he also realized one thing. When they played against each other a few days ago, Ling Yun obviously let water on purpose. Shinigami's Kido? This stuff doesn't work at all. Zaraki Kenpachi raised the Zanpakuto in his hands, and his body was covered with majestic golden Ryotsu. The appearance of the Shuanglen Konghuo pendant made him even more violent. This moment. As time went by, the two balls of explosives in Ling Yun's hands kept changing in various shapes, as if they possessed a special breath of life. Zaraki Kenpachi, I will make your wish come true. Ling Yun yelled violently and let go of his hands. The two balls of flames in his hands exploded, pushing forward with all his strength. Bang! Finally, there was a deafening bang. The wave of flames formed after the explosion burst, like a surging tsunami, swept every corner of this desert. The entrance to the Zaraki district was instantly flooded. Chapter 70 The Immortal Man. As Ling Yun let go of his hands, the two flaming explosions in his hands galloped forward at an extremely fast speed. Bang! Finally, there was a deafening bang. The wave of flames formed after the explosion burst, like a surging tsunami, swept every corner of this desert. The entrance to the Zaraki district was instantly flooded. What a powerful power! So Shinigami's Kido is so powerful. Even though he had been hiding in the distance for a long time and saw the scene of the flames exploding, Madarame Mikaku still couldn't help but be moved. All along, the fighting method he admired the most is the most primitive and direct close combat. Therefore, the red tasseled gun in his hand, which is actually the future Hizukumaru, has always been Madarame Mikaku's most convenient weapon. If there are no other accidents, Madarame Mikaku will not change the way of fighting now or even in the next 100 years, and even disdains to make changes. But now, the strong performance of Shuanglen Konghuo pendant directly overturned his previous concept. No matter how stubborn the bald head is, he has to admit Kido's power. Zaraki Kenpachi suffered a pyroblast bombardment head-on. Isn't that monster still alive? Yasugawa Yumachika held his breath and observed cautiously. It's a pity that his sight was blocked by the burning flames, so he couldn't see the situation ahead at all. Is Zaraki Kenpachi dead or alive? No one can guarantee it. Ling Yun, speaking of which, did you deliberately show mercy that day? Madarame Mikaku took the opportunity to ask. One corner, it's good that everyone knows about this kind of thing. Ling Yun turned his head to look backward, and the corner of his slightly raised mouth outlined a smile that was not a smile. I understand. Thank you for your mercy. Madarame Mikaku's expression instantly became complicated. He originally thought that the gap between himself and Ling Yun was not as big as he imagined. Only now did the bald man realize how naive this idea was. Fortunately, I turned an enemy into a friend, otherwise let alone the Zaraki area, I am afraid that the sun will not be seen the next day. Recalling the scene of that day, Yasugawa Yumachika was afraid for a while. Fortunately, he still has hostility towards Ling Yun. Now it seems that you should hold your thighs tightly. Over time, after the explosion, the fire gradually spread outward. Looking around, there are raging flames and pungent black gunpowder smoke everywhere. The entrance to the entire block was almost destroyed. Sure enough, he is still alive. He really deserves to be an immortal man. Ling Yun remained silent from the beginning to the end. He stared at the flame heatwave intently. At that moment just now, he keenly caught the familiar breath of Zaraki Kenpachi. This means that the man who regards fighting as everything, even if he is bombarded head-on by the Shuanglen Konghuo pendant, still stands in the fire. What? Ha 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 ha. A wild laughter sounded, breaking the long-lost silent atmosphere. The figure of Zaraki Kenpachi gradually appeared in front of everyone in the flickering flames. Compared with when he first appeared on the stage, his image has become extremely embarrassing. The burly body more than 2 meters high was covered with scorched black scars scorched by flames. Only half of the original large black robe remained. At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi is more like a violent beast that just broke free from the prison cage. Tick-tock. The blood dripped unstoppable. Despite the blood-red color, under the reflection of the fire, it looks so shocking. But still not as good as Zaraki Kenpachi, that grinning face. That's because of the blood. Only fresh blood can most directly and thoroughly awaken the violent nature in the beast. And now this happened. Blood, blood. This is blood. Ling Yun, right? You hurt me. Zaraki Kenpachi glanced down, and there were shocking bloodstains on his body. He touched it casually, and the palm of his hand was immediately covered with blood, which looked particularly oozing. What makes people feel weird is, although he was seriously injured, Zaraki Kenpachi couldn't see any pained expression on his face. Instead, he felt an indescribable excitement. There seemed to be an emotion brewing quietly. At this moment, at the entrance of the ruined block, a stream of condensed air flows quietly. The huge street was silent, only the sound of blood dripping was so clear and audible. Why do I have an uneasy premonition? I also feel that way. Madarame Makaku, Ayasagawa Yumashika, the two looked at each other. Years of experience in the past told them that things seemed to be going bad. As predicted, when the gradually brewing momentum climbed to the highest point, Zaraki Kenpachi finally broke out. Ha 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 ha. Zaraki Kenpachi raised his head suddenly, roaring with a ferocious face. This unbridled laugh, with the ferocious and bloodthirsty characteristics of a beast, also represents Zaraki Kenpachi's fun. Immediately afterwards, he made a move that surprised everyone. I saw Zaraki Kenpachi raised his hand, swallowed all the blood on the palm of his hand, and then roared ecstatically, "It's great, it's the taste of blood. It's exciting. Gulu." The sound of swallowing saliva came and went. Zaraki Kenpachi's actions sent chills down the spines of the three people standing opposite. Swallow your own blood. This move that only a lunatic would make, really brought an extremely shocking effect. Come on, kill me as much as you want. Whether you live or die, it's just to pass the time. Use all the means you are best at, and do your best to launch an offensive against me. Zaraki Kenpachi looked like a lunatic, with veins twitching fiercely on his ferocious face. Every time he roared, he was accompanied by a surge of fighting spirit, and Qian Wang Zhao seemed to be injected with infinite vitality. Great, it's been many years, and I haven't seen Xiaojian so happy for a long time. Yachinliu, who was watching the battle from the eaves, cheered and jumped up and down. Even if Zaraki Kenpachi felt at a disadvantage, she still didn't have any worries, but felt lucky for him. People who watched this weird scene were stunned. Yizhao, Yumi. Since he strongly demands, then put aside all concerns and do your best to make a move. Ling Yun quickly gave an eye to signal the toilet. Clear. Bald and she-males act fast. Their respective red-tasseled spears and multi-bladed sickles, with Zaraki Kenpachi's body, launched a fierce offensive. 1, 2, 3. More and more scars appeared on the body. Blood rained down, not only staining Kenpachi's clothes, but also the streets of Zaraki district. This battle is both bloody and spooky. Chapter 71 Big Welfare Delivery. 1, 2, 3. More and more scars appeared on the body. Blood rained down, not only staining Kenpachi's clothes, but also the streets of Zaraki district. Ha ha ha. Not enough, not enough. This level is not enough to kill me. Although his body was covered with bloodstains, Zaraki Kenpachi's fighting spirit was stronger than it was at the beginning. He seems to have an immortal body, as if he will never fall down. What a horrible monster. Such an opponent should be anyone's nightmare. Madarame Makaku even felt his arms become a little heavy and numb. But Zaraki Kenpachi standing in front of him is getting more and more powerful in terms of momentum. This huge difference between before and after brings a kind of inexplicable psychological fear. What? Is this the fear? Zaraki Kenpachi's beast-like pupils stared at the people in front of him, as if every cell in his body was roaring, sending out an extremely excited fighting intent. For Zaraki Kenpachi, fighting is like food and water for him. The meaning of his life is to fight for 630, and he regards fighting as the most important thing. Now I finally met some decent opponents I was looking forward to. With the character of Zaraki Kenpachi, naturally intend to enjoy it. Since you are afraid, let you sober up. Zaraki Kenpachi raised Zanpakuto, which was full of gaps, and then met the eyes of the bald head and the she-male, and brazenly opened a sword towards the opponent. Sword pressure. A fierce and huge sword pressure, like a bright golden sun, struck forward at an extremely fast speed, tearing the ground in vain wherever it went. Be careful, Ling Yun shouted, however, it was too late. Before the two of them could react, the pressure of the golden sword had suddenly increased. 39 of Bakudo, the round gate fan. There was no majestic shouting, no Bakudo chants, and no redundant movements from Ling Yun. Bakudo's name floated out of his mouth. Boom, at the moment when Bakudo chanted and fell, a steel-like protective door suddenly appeared. Like the scourge of heaven and man, BBCA, the golden sword exuding a violent aura was immediately blocked by this towering protective door. The moment the sword pressure touched the protective door, a deafening bang suddenly came out. Click click click. Barely hold on for less than a few seconds. The entire protective door fell apart, turning into countless steel fragments and falling down. However, these few seconds are extremely precious. Taking advantage of this gap, Madarame Makaku and Ayasagawa Yumachika immediately retreated to Ling Yun's side. Ling Yun, this monster is impossible to kill. Madarame Makaku's red-tasseled gun was covered with the opponent's blood, and even the gun shaft was dyed red. You two step back, and leave it to me to deal with it. Ling Yun stood the sealed state beside him, staring straight at Zaraki Kenpachi. Ling Yun, cut it down, do your best to cut it down. Zaraki Kenpachi grinned grimly. Contrary to Ling Yun's expectations, he didn't raise his Zanpakuto, nor did he plan to fight back. Instead, he stood still and even smiled expectantly. Is the unique evil taste finally here? Ling Yun's eyelids twitched, and he vaguely guessed the other party's intentions. As predicted, I saw Zaraki Kenpachi stabbing the notched Zanpakuto into the scorched ground in front of him, open black lens bracket. Immediately after, under Ling Yun's gaze, he forcefully pulled the incomplete clothes on his body to the left and right sides, revealing his chest unreservedly. Standing behind Ling Yun, the bald head and the ladyboy were dumbfounded by this move. Where the hell is this? Come on, Ling Yun, pick up your sealed state, and chop it down here. It doesn't matter whether it's the head, the neck, or the eyeballs. It doesn't matter which part you like. You can chop wherever you like, and it's best to hack me to death directly. Words that sounded arrogant and hateful came out of Zaraki Kenpachi's mouth. The key is that everything seems so natural. So more than 100 years ago, did you have such a bad taste? You really are a brainless, reckless man. Ling Yun silently contemptuously, and did not wave the sealed state immediately. He had expected this scene a long time ago, so there was no slightest fluctuation. But Madarame Mikaku, who was behind him, was already gnashing her teeth angrily, eager to lift the red-tasseled gun. They just can't stand Zaraki Kenpachi's arrogance. Hey, what are you waiting for? Quickly pick up your sealed state and kill me. If you miss it, you won't have this chance, Zaraki Kenpachi urged impatiently. He. Xiao Jian is so brave and manly. Yachin Liu was laughing on the eaves. Beast and Lolita, the two sang together, immediately eased the atmosphere of the audience. Zaraki Kenpachi. That's the end of this silly game. Ling Yun observed silently for a while, and finally raised the blow slowly. Shiny. He held the sealed state flat in front of him, and a chill burst out. The surface of the slender sword body, with the multi-attribute Ryotsu fluttering, burst out a burst of vast white light. The rare space-time attribute Ryotsu, accompanied by the upgraded slash, burst out unreservedly. Take advantage of this opportunity to make a break. Ling Yun aimed at Zaraki Kenpachi's chest, and then deflected a brilliant slash. In fact, under normal circumstances, even if he tried his best, it would be impossible to defeat Zaraki Kenpachi. When Zaraki Kenpachi changed his mind and stopped playing bad games, it was the moment when the three of them were beheaded. Ling Yun is well aware of this, however, now, because of the so-called welfare distribution, Ling Yun has an excellent opportunity. No matter how strong Zaraki Kenpachi's Ryotsu is, the chest is the deadly part after all. That's why Ling Yun bet on this. He intends to defeat Zaraki Kenpachi in one fell swoop by using time and space slash. One corner, you didn't feel it, there seems to be a strange wave in Ling Yun's slash. Yasugawa Yumachika said with a frown. The spirits in the surrounding space seem to have suddenly become chaotic, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to see through Ling Yun's strength. Madarame Mikaku sensed carefully for a while. Because the subconscious mind does not have the concept of space-time Ryotsu. So after thinking for a few seconds, he was forced to change the subject. And while the two were talking, under the dazzling white light, the slash that Ling Yun created directly hit Zaraki Kenpachi. Chapter 72 The Deadly Shinigami Sickle. Swipe. Under the dazzling white light, the slash that Ling Yun created directly hit Zaraki Kenpachi. The dazzling white flashes that bloomed from it illuminated every corner of the battle circle. Madarame Mikaku and Yasugawa Yumachika only felt that their vision became white, and their eyes were so painful that they couldn't open them at all. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. Oops. I can't see anything clearly, and I don't know what's going on with Xiaojian. Yachin Liu covered his eyes, standing on the roof like a porcelain doll. Like the bald people, her vision became white, and she couldn't see anything clearly. As for Ling Yun himself, then calmly holding the sealed state, looking at the brightest spot of the white light, the figure of Kenpachi Sera, Ki is faintly reflected. After using Ryotsu's time and space attribute to create a sword with all his strength, he did what he had planned in advance. Zaraki Kenpachi is finally seriously injured. It's a tough fight. After confirming the situation repeatedly, Ling Yun breathed a sigh of relief. The process of this battle was full of thrills, but in the end it ended in a dramatic way, which Ling Yun himself did not expect. As predicted, as time passed by every minute and every second, when the atmosphere at the entrance of the entire block was so oppressive that it was almost suffocating. The dazzling white light gradually dissipated, and the figure of Zaraki Kenpachi reappeared within the field of vision. Compared with before hit and slash, Zaraki Kenpachi's state at this time can almost be described as miserable. Where the chest used to be, a huge hole appeared, and a lot of blood kept oozing out of it. The whole scene looked shocking. Severe white bones, written stabbing red blood. It makes Zaraki Kenpachi like a bloodman. This scene brings a very shocking visual sense. Small sword. There are 8,000 streams on the eaves, and I can't sit still anymore. Her figure flashed, and like a ghost, she jumped onto the opponent's shoulder in an instant. The appearance of Zaraki Kenpachi at this time is the worst state she has never seen in hundreds of years. 8,000 streams. I'm fine. Lousy is Zaraki Kenpachi. How could he fall down so easily? Zaraki Kenpachi's teeth, because of talking, kept spilling blood. Against the background of blood, his whole body looks even more shocking. It didn't even fall like this. Ling Yun's eyes widened suddenly. The strike just now, Ryatsu's slash that merged time and space, can be said to be his strongest killing move so far. If even this can't end the battle, then the fate of the three of them will be obvious: massacre. Once Zaraki Kenpachi goes berserk, massacre is inevitable. Facing a wild beast that has gone mad, perhaps no one can stop him except Yachinryu. What? Ling Yun, right? I remember your name. Zaraki Kenpachi wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth, and at the same time raised the Zanpakuto in his hand. You are the only person who has allowed me to enjoy the long-lost battle fun in these hundreds of years. Shine. With the fall of the notched Zanpakuto, a golden terrifying sword pressure instantly penetrated the ground and tore a gap. The entrance of the entire block was split in half, as if an abyss appeared out of thin air. Gulu. Feel the strength of Zaraki Kenpachi. Madarei Makaku, a Yasugawa Yumachika, swallowed at the same time. The strength of Zaraki Kenpachi brought a heavy sense of oppression, accompanied by a suffocating silence. Unstoppable, unmatched. It seems to have a kind of almost invincible power. This is Zaraki Kenpachi. Bang 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 bang. As the scene fell into a deathly silence, the sound of the beating heart became clear and audible at this time. Zaraki Kenpachi is like a demon, holding the Zanpakuto full of gaps in his hand, closing it step by step forward, and causing the air to vibrate continuously. A majestic golden Ryatsu beam of light rushed towards the sky like a volcanic eruption. Immediately lit up the mid-air of the entire Zaraki district. What a powerful Ryatsu this is! The bald head and the she-male felt sincerely that the difference in Ryatsu alone made them feel powerless. Zaraki Kenpachi really doesn't have any weaknesses. After the fight just now, the fluctuation seems to be more intense. Ling Yun glanced down, the sealed state in his hand, his eyes burst out with a fiery look. With the continuous infusion of his own soul and Ryatsu, he established a bond with the sealed state. Ask for flowers. 0 But this time, fighting with his rival Zaraki Kenpachi, there was a special resonance between Ling Yun and the sealed state. He could vaguely hear Zanpakuto calling. That's right, Zanpakuto is indeed calling. Apparently this is a precursor to the upcoming Shikai. This moment is finally ushered in. Finally, Rukongai didn't come in vain. Ling Yun's eyes burst into light, and as Zaraki Kenpachi approached, the oppression it brought became more intense. The fluctuations transmitted from the sealed state are also more obvious over time. At the end, the moment Zaraki Kenpachi came in front of me, this feeling finally reached its peak. That's it. Ling Yun suddenly raised the sealed state in his hand. A brand new force that had never appeared before suddenly burst out from inside the sealed state. Sounded with it, and the Shikai language of Zanpakuto, used by the evil god, Wei Wu has exhausted his body. Yan Mo Dark Scythe. Ling Yun's words were resounding. The Zanpakuto in the hand, with the sound of the sound, emits a dark light. Clatter, a sudden scene, immediately aroused everyone's vigilance. This is, originally intended, Zaraki Kenpachi who was waving Zanpakuto. The movement in his hand stopped abruptly in an instant. He looked curiously at the Zanpakuto in Ling Yun's hand, which was gradually transforming, and his vertical pupils were filled with excitement. Has his Zanpakuto awakened? Zaraki Kenpachi already guessed what was going on. In the past hundreds of years, there have been Shinigami who strayed into the Zaraki district and had conflicts with him. Therefore, Zaraki Kenpachi is no stranger to Zanpakuto, and has even confronted many Shikai Zanpakuto. The scene happening now is almost the same as in the past. Also makes Zaraki Kenpachi shine, Shinigami's Zanpakuto? As companions, the bald head and the ladyboy also stared at Ling Yun intently because of the awakening of their fighting spirit. In the case of close contact, they can clearly feel the powerful aura emitted by Zanpakuto. Intuition tells everyone. This deadly Shinigami sickle in Ling Yun's hands definitely has unique characteristics. Chapter 73 leaves Zaraki district, after half a sound. Meet everyone's eyes. The Zanpakuto in Ling Yun's hand gradually revealed its true form as the black light dissipated. It was a huge sickle with black and white patterns all over the body, the end of the handle was dark red, and the blade was like a crescent moon, blooming a dazzling white light. This deadly Shinigami sickle, the overall appearance of Haki is mighty, accompanied by a mysterious atmosphere. The queen of the evil god, Wei Wu has exhausted his body. The fierce name of Yan Mo is like the birth of evil spirits. This Shinigami sickle is filled with a killing spirit, making Ling Yun instantly transform into a deadly Shinigami. Ha 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 ha. So this is what your Zanpakuto really looks like. Zaraki Kenpachi let out a maniacal laugh. He could feel a familiar aura from Yan Mo's dark sickle. That's right, 670. The kind of dark atmosphere that accompanies the killing seems to come from the depths of hell, almost evil spirits. Everything. The music that seemed to work for the battle awakened the fighting spirit of Zaraki Kenpachi again. This time his fighting spirit became even more surging. Yan Mo Dark Scythe. Ignore Zaraki Kenpachi's growl. Ling Yun remained silent, looking at the huge scythe in his hand, feeling the power coming from inside. Although from the appearance, the nature of Yan Mo Anya is more inclined to Zanpakuto of the physics department. However, Ling Yun knew very well in his heart that this was just the basic form of the Yanmo dark scythe, and its ability was far more than that simple. Fire attribute, wind attribute, earth attribute, water attribute, thunder attribute, time and space attribute. 6 distinct Ryotsu attributes, which of course brings 6 different powers. To some extent, Ling Yun's dark scythe is more like Zanpakuto with all attributes in the physics department. Zaraki Kenpachi. Thanks to you this time, Yanmo awakened early. Ling Yun waved the dark sickle vigorously, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, as if full of confidence. The awakening of Yanmo's dark sickle brought about a power increase, which gave him a completely new transformation. Immediately afterwards, meet Zaraki Kenpachi's gaze. Ling Yun waved the huge dark sickle, like a phantom in the night, galloping forward quickly. Burn it, Yanmo, with the fall of the liberation language. The blazing flames, like swaying will-o'-the-wisps, surround the sickle. The fire shines, and the shadows surge. Everything seems to be a precursor to harvesting life. Fire attribute Zanpakuto? I can't see it at all. Madarame Makaku muttered puzzledly, because at the first moment, I didn't feel any breath of flame on Yanmo's dark sickle. So at this moment, after the raging flames burned, he was stunned. No, one corner, you should feel it carefully. Yasugawa Yumachika's eyes curved cautiously. In his Zanpakuto, besides the flame feature, there are other almost hidden powers. No way? Madarame Makaku's expression froze for a moment. Doesn't that mean multiple attributes? This kind of thing sounds too weird. And at the moment when the two were talking, Ling Yun waved the Shinigami sickle and had already arrived in front of Zaraki Kenpachi. The sharp curved blade with flames, carrying a scorching wind, slashed towards Zaraki Kenpachi. Shine! The crisp sound of metal clashing followed. Zaraki Kenpachi, who entered the fighting state, obviously had an expression of enjoyment on his face. He waved Zanpakuto calmly, and forcibly parried Yanmo's slash. Wow! The flame cyclone rises with the air. Under the trend of Ling Yun's will, he quickly wrapped Zaraki Kenpachi's body, desperately burning the wounds on his body. In the blink of an eye, Zaraki Kenpachi turns into Burning Man. Did Ling Yun succeed? The monster should fall down, right? The bald head and the ladyboy held their breaths and looked forward cautiously. At this time, this battle is obviously coming to an end, and the outcome will be announced in seconds. However, Ling Yun, who was on the initiative, did not stop the offensive. Fly sand and walk rocks, Yanmo. Ling Yun swung the Shinigami dark sickle again, seamlessly switching to the earth attribute Ryotsu. Bang! With the emission of a dark luster, the ground under his feet shook violently like an earthquake, and a special sand formation took shape. In just a few breaths, the sand array erupted with intense light. I saw that the ground in this area turned into sand in an instant, and gathered into a huge sea of sand, rushing forward like a tsunami. Zaraki Kenpachi, which was originally burned, was quickly submerged in the sea of sand. The tide has turned once again. Is it really a multi-attribute Zanpakuto? Madarame Makaku was dumbfounded. Flying sand and flames, switching between different attributes, only in the blink of an eye. This kind of thing happened in front of my eyes, the shock is hard to describe in words. What are you still doing? Why don't you leave here quickly? Ling Yun's voice came from ahead, and he put away Yanmo's dark sickle with a helpless expression on his face. What? The two didn't react for a while. My god, are you still waiting to die? Ling Yun's figure flashed, and he came directly to his side. The sand array won't trap him for long, now is the best time to leave. Let's go. Through today's battle, I finally got a taste of the strength of this monster, and I have fulfilled a wish. Madarame Makaku took a deep look. As a militant madman, he is almost the same as Zaraki Kenpachi, and in essence he most pursues the power of ultimate. In Madarame Makaku's view, following a strong man recognized by him and fighting until he dies under his command is one of the things he desires most. Now the powerhouse has a clear target, and that is Zaraki Kenpachi. Little Yakiryu, see you again at 3.9 if you have a chance. Before Ling Yun left, he deliberately waved his hand towards the eaves in a friendly manner. Although he was fighting the whole time, he kept noticing Yachinliu's secret observations. Ling Yun still has enough understanding of little Lolita before she can fully participate in the battle. Yun, your performance is very good. Yachinliu gestured 2 fingers, and made a cute face. Thanks to you today, Xiaojian can thoroughly enjoy the long-lost battle fun. I thank you for him. It was beyond Ling Yun's expectations. Yachinliu actually took the initiative to express his gratitude. Although we only met once, Ling Yun obviously gave Yachinliu a special first impression. Finally, under the watchful eyes of Yachinliu, taking advantage of the gap between the appearance of the sand array, Ling Yun calmly left the Zaraki area. Chapter 74 The Captain's Cross-Examination. After half a sound, in the sunken and collapsed sand array, Zaraki Kenpachi's roar came. Ha 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 ha. It's really an interesting Zanpakuto. Ling Yun, continue to come up with more tricks. With the explosion of a golden beam of light, the figure of Zaraki Kenpachi suddenly appeared. After getting rid of the sand formation, he was very excited and was planning to continue fighting with Ling Yun, but he didn't expect to see no one in the end. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Where did the three of them go? Looking at the emptiness in front of him, Zaraki Kenpachi's expression froze. Let alone fighting now, even half of the figure is invisible, and the fighting spirit that was at a high point, like being poured with cold water, has disappeared in an instant. Xiao Jian, they have already run away. Yachinliu jumped down from the eaves and jumped to Kenpachi. Kenpachi. What? Run away? Zaraki Kenpachi's expression instantly became furious when he heard the news. After finally meeting a decent opponent, he ran away so easily. Bang. Because of being too upset. In Zaraki Kenpachi's body, golden Reiatsu erupted suddenly. The ground that was originally turned into ruins instantly became full of holes, with countless gaps appearing. Strong winds swept through, and sand and gravel flew upwards. At the entrance of the entire Zaraki area, it suddenly became a mess. Yachinliu, you idiot, why don't you stop them? Zaraki Kenpachi put away Zanpakuto and asked in a cold voice with an unhappy face. What? Yachinliu was stunned for a moment, then he waved his small powder fist angrily. Small sword, the guy who calls other people idiots is a big idiot himself. Fool, you're an idiot, you're a big idiot. Little Lolita directly resorted to 3 quality combos. It was only she who dared to act recklessly and get emotional in front of Zaraki Kenpachi. If it were someone else, even if they didn't say a word, they would be slashed by Zaraki Kenpachi. Rukongai's first cut king. This title is no joke. HMPH. How annoying. Zaraki Kenpachi snorted in extreme displeasure. Although he was seriously injured and almost turned into a blood man, he was still full of energy and was hardly affected in any way. The only thing that made him feel aggrieved was that the fight was in vain. Xiaojian, let's go back, Ayan and the others have gone far away. Yachinliu grabbed Zaraki Kenpachi's collar, and lay on Zaraki Kenpachi's shoulder like a piece of brown sugar. Correct. Ayan and the others purposely greeted each other before they left, letting us go to Jingling when we have time. Yachinliu added. The Court of Tranquility. Zaraki Kenpachi frowned. Although she lives in Zaraki district all the year round, she is still in the center of the household soul world, Jingling. In fact, Zaraki Kenpachi had heard about it many years ago, but the Shinigami residence was not very attractive to him. Zaraki Kenpachi hadn't even bothered to go. Xiaojian, you seem to be shaken. 8,000 streams of cute laughter. Yakiryu, do you think I'd be interested in Shinigami? They're just a bunch of hypocrites. Zaraki Kenpachi responded deadpan. He turned around indifferently and walked in the opposite direction until he disappeared at the end. As for what Zaraki Kenpachi really thinks, in fact, no one can guess. The other side. The previous block, Kaolu District. Call. Ling Yun, being able to escape from death this time is really a blessing to you. Although he was far away from the Zaraki area, Madarame Makaku was still in shock, obviously not fully recovered. I never want to go to Zaraki District again in my life. A Yasugawa Yumashika sighs from the heart. After going through this journey, he finally understood why the Zaraki District was called a restricted area. As long as Zaraki Kenpachi exists, Zaraki District will always be a restricted area. Yijiao, Shinshin, without this journey, wouldn't there be an unforgettable experience missing? The Yanmo dark scythe in Ling Yun's hand has returned to its original appearance on the way to the reunion. However, compared with the beginning, there are still some minor changes. For example, there is a layer of black luster on the pure white knife body, as if it has been enchanted with some special power. As for the scabbard, there are more red lines, giving off a faint evil spirit. After Zanpakuto's awakening, Ling Yun can mobilize various attributes Reiatsu in the body more freely. More importantly, Yanmo has unlimited room for growth, and the moment Yanmo completely transforms is only when he awakens his full attribute talent. It is also the only full property Zanpakuto in the entire Soul Society with a long history of more than 2,000 years. Ling Yun, what are your plans next? Madarame Makaku gradually calmed down. There is not much time left. If there are no accidents, I will go back to Jingling in 2 days. Ling Yun responded without thinking. After all, there is still a long way to go from Jingling Court, so the time is a bit tight. Are you leaving so soon? Madarame Makaku was silent for a moment. Although they only met for a few days, they experienced a life and death battle, and the distance between him and Ling Yun instantly narrowed. Even more because of mutual sympathy, although there is a relatively large difference in age and identity, this does not hinder their friendship. One corner. What are you thinking? Ling Yun is Mao's student, of course he will go back to the academy after the vacation. A Yasugawa Yumashika complained. That's right, I'm too hypocritical. Madarame Makaku laughed, and touched his big bald head. Ling Yun, let's go, let's have a good drink for the next few days. No problem. Ling Yun happily agreed. During this trip to Rukongai, not only did she meet ladyboys and bald heads, but she also accidentally awakened Zanpakuto. Overall it was a perfect trip. Time flies. In a blink of an eye, the 1-month deadline came. First team building, captain team affairs room. Well, Chojiro, you have thoroughly investigated the accident in the field training, right? A steady and powerful voice, like a muffled thunder, spread throughout the team office. The owner of this voice has long wicker-like eyebrows, a cross-shaped scar on the right side of his head, and a silver-white beard with a purple belt on his waist. The sturdy body is covered with infinite fighting scars. Those eyes, which were as bright as torches, gave people an aura of calmness and prestige. He is the general captain of Gote 13. Yamamoto Yuan Yanasai Shigekuni. That's right, Captain, after half a month of investigation, I have learned the ins and outs of it. The adjutant of the first team, Chojiro, said. The key person in this accident. Sparrow Chojiro deliberately lowered his voice and spoke an important clue. It's a freshman named Ling Yun. Chapter 75, the most severe assessment in history. The key to this accident. It's about a freshman named Ling Yun. Chojiro, the silver-haired sparrow, uttered a key clue. Ling Yun. The captain's dark and deep eyes were as calm as an ancient well. Apart from his awe-inspiring demeanor, it was impossible to guess what he was thinking. As the captain of Gote 13, Old Man Yamamoto is dubbed the title of strongest Shinigami, and has the strongest Zanpakuto Ryujin Jaka in the fire department. He is similar to Zaraki Kenpachi, both being invincible. The difference is that one is Rukongai and the other is Jingling. Ling Yun, whose full name is Shihouin Ling Yun, is Captain Yoruichi's younger brother, and also a new student of Mao's. Sparrow Chojiro explained in detail. Long before he came to the team office, he had inquired about Ling Yun's details and deeds. Mao's first genius. With this aura alone, coupled with Shihouin's identity, Ling Yun deserves the big guy's attention. Yoruichi's younger brother. It is said that he is very talented and already has the strength to surpass the soldiers. The captain raised his eyebrows meaningfully. Yes, in that field training accident, it is said that Ling Yun single-handedly killed Menos Grande from Zai Palace. When the news was revealed, even though he knew it in advance, Chojiro Sparrow still with a tone of shock. A freshman who enrolled for less than a semester was able to single-handedly defeat the Menos Grande group. How shocking is this news? Well, I'm really shocked to have such a strong strength. Captain Yamamoto's eyes finally showed a wave of fluctuation. Of course, in addition to Ling Yun's deeds, what the old man cares about is another important point, the Menos Grande of Zai Palace. As the founder of Gote 13, the strongest Shinigami for over 2,000 years. Captain Yamamoto's existence is as old as the Soul Society, and he is practically living history. During the long years, he naturally knew Hueco Mundo like the back of his hand. Especially in the last few hundred years, conflicts between the Soul Society and Hueco Mundo have broken out more than once, and wars between Shinigami and Menos Grande have also occurred many times. As for the sensitive words, Shuyi Palace, the captain naturally paid more attention to them. Chojiro, if I remember correctly, the Soul Society has not been invaded by Menos Grande for many years, right? Captain Yamamoto's eyes reveal the wisdom of seeing through the vicissitudes of life. Yeah, it's been a few years. Chojiro Sasaki responded respectfully. Well, the wars that broke out that year resulted in the death of many outstanding Shinigami. Captain Yamamoto raised his eyelids, his long wicker-like eyebrows drooped, exuding the majesty of a superior. Captain, what do you mean? Chojiro Sasaki murmured under his breath. He could clearly hear that there was something in the captain's words, but he didn't make it clear for the time being. Chojiro, Shinigami, and Menos Grande are on the opposite side, Captain Yamamoto snapped. After so many years of peace, it's time to take action. Captain, this matter should be considered carefully, right? Chojiro Sasaki was startled. Well, arrange it as soon as possible and hold a special meeting. All the personnel above the vice captain level will be called to the first team. Captain Yamamoto quickly made a decision. I understand. Chojiro Sasaki nodded respectfully. Go. Make preparations for this matter as soon as possible. I plan to go to the Junyang Lingyuan Academy. It has been a few years since I said it, and I haven't been there for a long time. With his hands resting on the rattan cane, the captain's wrinkled face rarely showed a look of nostalgia. The captain, who not only founded Gote 13, but also the first-generation principal of Shino Ling Academy, has cultivated many outstanding students. The most famous ones are the current two Shinigami captains, Hiroku Shunsui, Jashiro Yukitaki. Therefore, when he mentioned Junyang Lingyuan, his heart naturally fluctuated a little. I understand, don't worry, leave it to me. Chojiro Sasaki hurriedly left the team room. 3 days later, Junyang Ling Academy, teacher of special training class. Ling Yun, come with me. Ling Yun, who was resting in the classroom, was suddenly called away by Hiyori. Mr. Hiyori, why are you being so mysterious? Could it be a surprise? Ling Yun followed behind Hiyori, observing his expression carefully. Based on his understanding of Hiyori, he could see some clues at a glance. Something special seems to be happening today. Ling Yun, you are going to meet a big person later. To be honest, I doubt whether this news is true or not. Hiyori stopped in his tracks and said with a serious face. Big man. Ling Yun was immediately puzzled. The upper echelons of the academy. They shouldn't either. As Hiyori's vice captain, even the high-level officials of the Shinyang Academy should be more polite when they see her. That's Gote 13. Yeah, there should be very few people who can be called great people. Quote. Ling Yun immediately thought of a possibility. Mr. Hiyori, the big man you are talking about is Captain Yamamoto, right? Ling Yun deliberately tested it in a joking tone. Hey, can you guess this too? Hiyori's pupils suddenly dilated. She has always been a bit arrogant, but she is usually a full-fledged little sister, and she is notoriously difficult to mess with in Jingling court. But once facing the captain, all the temper in Hiyori's body immediately disappeared without a trace. In front of the old man, she was like a docile cat, not to mention the iconic flip-flops, and even her breathing became more cautious. Besides the oldest captains, the only one who can be called a big shot by you is Captain Yamamoto. Ling Yun explained with a chuckle. You are really witty, but I would like to remind you in advance, Lu Nuo Zhao, that you must not talk nonsense after meeting the captain later. Hiyori solemnly warned. Not to mention him, even the current Captain Shinigami is still very reserved in front of the old man. There is no way, the power of the strongest Shinigami in the millennium is like an invisible mountain, quietly exerting great oppression. I understand, but I would like to ask, why did the captain come here suddenly? Ling Yun asked curiously. Without warning, all of a sudden, it appeared at the Junyang Lingyuan Academy. As the captain of the old man, it is indeed a rare thing. Ling Yun, do you want to know the answer? Hiyori paused again. She turned around and looked at Ling Yun, with an arc drawn at the corner of her mouth. Of course. Following Ling Yun nodded. Hiyori soon revealed the answer. That is because the captain intends to personally assess you.